There's no time.
Lost.
The time is
13
o'clock.
Hey, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have an action star
That's
gracing 13 o'clock.
That's right. I got to dress. Steven Seagal is such a badass that I got to dress up like a Terminator just to talk about it. You didn't know about that, did you?
Where is Chuck Norris in this matrix of badass?
Chuck's he's sleepy. Okay, he's kind of sleepy right now. So I had to call up the Terminator with my 13 o'clock shirt on. But this is my Terminator outfit. The only thing different is I don't have the gray Terminator shirt on, and I got eyebrows.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, Terminator shaved off.
Well,
his eyebrows.
I could solve that issue for you really quickly.
No, if I ever had to do this shit full on, I would shave my fucking eyebrows off.
Well, yeah.
Hell yeah, I would.
I shave my eyebrows.
Yeah, shave them off. Well, shit, got a pandemic going on. Just stay in the house for a couple of days. They come right back.
Yeah, no one's gonna see this shit.
So
except for all you guys.
Today we're gonna talk about a fucking living legend, a man that I have a huge amount of respect for. All right. Now, women are present, so we're going to work something out here. Steven Seagal. And I want to start this show off by saying that getting certain things straight is that this is not a Steven Seagal hate fest, okay? Now, I understand women have a certain reaction, okay, in the presence of Seagal and talking about Seagal because of his, there are some things in his history.
Because of his shittiness?
Well, wait. See, that's how they do. Steve, let me tell you something. I know you might be out there. I'm a man. I understand. Okay, I have a certain amount of understanding of the bullshit that you have to put up with. You're a huge Hollywood star. You got. What are you laughing at? Why are you laughing? Of course, he's a huge Hollywood star. Huge Hollywood star.
He's huge, all right.
They're super fucking popular. All these women are just fucking after you, man. Fucking. You go to Russia, you come back with a harem. It's just, you know what I mean? I understand, all the haters out there that are soiling your name,
And his pants.
And his pants. No, yeah, you got it. Okay, so just that aside, today this is going to be a fun show. And we're going to talk about Seagal.
Well, there's just so much entertaining to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep it fair. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll keep it fair, but I'm not going off on
try to keep it fair.
I'm going to stay rooted in reality and all of the shit that everyone said about him.
Well, here's the thing, people might want to make fun of Seagal about his weight or whatever, and his fucking movies. And, the situation with fucking women, accusations from women in the past and him beating up people that he was working with on movies. You know what I mean? A lot of this shit is opinion. You know what I mean? This is just...
No, it's not.
It's not? Okay, well,
no.
Let me try to... Okay. All that shit's out there, but you have to imagine a time and when... action movies and everything, where Steven Seagal was actually he was a player in the action movie
for a little while, yeah.
He was, and he made some good movies. I liked Under Siege. I liked Under Siege 2. A lot of people didn't like it, but I liked Under Siege 2. I like Hard to Kill. That was another good one. And there was a few other ones that I thought were pretty good.
His first one was Above the Law, yeah.
Above the Law. I remember that one, Above the Law. Above the Law had all these movies. Okay, all of even his good movies had some issues.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of the issues, not a lot of the issues, but a few of the issues were because of Seagal, really.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Yeah. But I do respect Seagal for what he did and what he achieved, and he bullshitted his way into making movies.
He certainly did.
And he was an Aikido expert, and I saw him in his prime doing Aikido on other Aikido dudes. And compared to them other Aikido dudes, he looked pretty damn good.
Well, part of it too is he was a lot larger than a lot of. I mean, he's 6'4", 6'5", something like that.
And he was more aggressive. That has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
When you really kind of break Aikido apart. Aikido is not really so much about aggression. It was supposed to be kind of a non-aggression type martial art, if that's what you want to call it. Some people might say that Aikido is not really a martial art.
It is, but it's not really. It wasn't really designed for.
It's defensive
fighting. It's defensive,
right.
Or for defending against somebody coming straight at you with the sword. You can use it for that, but I mean, according to Joe Rogan, he was saying like, other than if a dude is coming like right at you into your face, which most fighters don't do, then it's kind of not. He's not saying that it's like not a martial art, but it's just not one that
it's not real
would
effective.
be used in an effective fighting technique. That's all. Now,
but Seagal kind of bullied his way into making it look more effective versus
he did because he uses like a lot of moves that are not really traditional.
So
Aikido
you might
moves.
be able to say that he was an Aikido innovator. All right.
Well, I'm sure he would say that.
He would say that. Problem is, and I can go back, to my stepbrother who was a fucking badass in fucking Taekwondo. The problem is that when you take Aikido and start making it a fight-winning fucking martial art, the only way to do that is to take it outside the envelope of Aikido. Now it morphs into something that is not
other
Aikido.
Things, which is what he did.
That was like my stepbrother. He used to beat people's asses, and he was like the best guy in his dojo. He did Taekwondo. He'd win all the championships. He could do these fucking flying kicks. He was fucking great with weapons like sais and tonfas and fucking joe sticks and fucking three-quarter staffs. And he was really good with his hands and his feet. And he could do all this. And he would win shows,
Yeah, I knew
and
a guy
sparring
like that.
matches and stuff.
And
he could beat dudes' asses like it was fucking nothing back in the day. Like he'd take on 4 guys and beat them all. All right? But he didn't quite use Taekwondo to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taekwondo made him limber and fast and know how to punch and kick. But whenever I saw him fight, he was fighting outside. Sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside of what Taekwondo would have been. Like, he's not doing flying fucking kicks and all these weird things that they would do during a tournament. You know what I mean? It's just looked like a dude beating another dude's asses and stomping on him and kicking him in the face, is what it looked like.
Yeah.
He was good. He could stand right in front of you within striking distance of the hand, you know what I mean? And without you even being able to really protect yourself from it, kick you in the bottom of your jaw with the tip of his foot.
Yeah.
That's how good he was. Just pow! Snap a fucking leg up. And you didn't even see it coming.
See, that seems like it would be a lot more effective than whatever it is that Steven Seagal is doing.
Yeah. But the thing is that whenever I saw him fight against guys for real, he didn't do that because it was easier just to throw a punch.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, you don't have to be a martial artist to know that.
So it was that Taekwondo. He just was like, it was very basic, just mostly the punches, and you know what I mean? And I might use a kick to finish a guy off.
Yeah.
That's what he was like, But, yeah, martial arts. Growing up in the 80s, we had a lot of respect for martial arts. We weren't really sure what was true and what wasn't true, Yeah,
you couldn't really look that shit up.
I had friends in these dojos. We were in high school, and like my stepbrother could beat asses, but then Ninja Jim, we called him Ninja Jim. He's a friend of mine. He would walk around like he was a badass, and he'd walk around in fucking in his ready stance, and you know what I mean, and running around in his gi and fucking Denny's and shit. And as soon as some shit would go down, he'd start disappearing off into the background. He didn't want to get in a fight.
See, that's the kind of dude. I liken Steven Seagal more to someone like Ninja Jim because here's the thing. And I think this is the reason why a lot of people can't stand him and a lot of people make fun of him and stuff like that. One, because he's a humorless douche. But also, he's
now you're jumping to conclusions before we even talk about it.
I'm saying that he's like, he's just very self-important and doesn't have a sense of humor about himself. He can't laugh at himself. He gets very, very defensive and sensitive, like if you say something about him. But
protecting his reputation.
The stupid thing is that he's not like, I mean, we did the whole show on Bullshito, right? Where some of the people just like pulled every single thing like out of their anal cavity. That it's like they didn't do any of the shit that they said that they did. The thing about Steven Seagal is, from everything that I could determine, he does actually seem to be like a 7th Dan or whatever black belt in Aikido. He did do some of the shit that he said that he did. Like, he did, like, teach at a dojo in Japan. You know, he can probably speak Japanese, I think. Although but it's like he was in very successful action movies in the 90s. You know, like I said, he was like a stunt coordinator on like some other movies, like what a James Bond movie and stuff like that. So it's like, why can't that just be enough? Why do you also have to say, oh, he used to be a Navy SEAL. Oh, I trained with the founder of Aikido, even though the guy was dead when he was still a teenager. It's like, why, like, you know, oh, I speak 4 languages when it seems that he only speaks 2, maybe. You know what I mean? It's
maybe
like
1 1/4.
Maybe 1 1/4. But it's like, so why does he have to like just exaggerate? Like, you had enough, you did more than most people do in their whole entire lifetime. It's like, so why do you just have to like keep adding these more ridiculous things on top of it when clearly you are making it up? And then not even have like a fucking sense of humor about it when people call you out on it and just want to like punch him in the face.
Well, he's trying to push his career forward, and to do this, he has to compete with his, you know, with his peers.
I guess.
So he has to top Chuck Norris.
But they all can't stand him, though. Yeah. That's what's so funny about it. It's like everybody, like Sylvester Stallone has dissed him, Jean-Claude Van Damme has dissed him. It's
he's
like
not the cool guy.
Other like the MMA fighters have dissed him because he's like, oh, I trained that guy that, you know, I taught that guy that kick that like knocked out the guy in that UFC fight or whatever.
Yeah.
And that guy's like,
it was that Brazilian guy.
He's like, he's like, that guy was here, and he's like, and I did kind of spar with him and stuff, but he's like, he didn't teach me that kick because there's videos of that guy doing that kick before he even met Steven Seagal. So what the fuck?
Okay, why don't we start the show? Let's
we did already.
So is it formally started?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did want to do like a couple of shout outs before we get like really into this. Is like not I don't really have any kind of like structure or anything like that. I just have like all these kind of anecdotes, like other various things. I've been reading about Steven Seagal and watching like all these other videos about him like for 2 or 3 days. So there's all kind of like fun shit about him. So like I said, it's not really any structure. It's kind of like the Bullshito show where we're just kind of go off on tangents and shit.
So it's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, it should be. The drunker we get, the funnier it will be. Maybe, hopefully. But I did have a couple shout-outs that I wanted to give because we have a new patron. I think I mentioned this on one of the Sidetrack shows, whose name is Eric. So, hey, welcome. Also, he comments on like a lot of our YouTube videos and Facebook posts and stuff like that. And he also bought one of my games. Crimson Drop, you know, one of the Giallo games. I don't know how long it'll take for you to get it because I know their warehouse is shut down until, or their you know, manufacturing thing is shut down until at least the 24th. So it might be a while before you get it, but I hope you enjoy it when you do get it. Like I said, I'm still working on other games. By the end of the year, I hope to have like a site set up that has like all the games up there because I have like a shit ton done. I just haven't like uploaded them yet. Also want to thank Melanie for sending us another PayPal donation today. So that was very awesome. So thank you very much for that. Also, thank you very much to friend of the show, Sophie.
Yep, sent me 2 shirts today.
Sent Tom 2 t-shirts today that are pretty badass.
Yeah, 101st Airborne shirt, another one that said, I joined the infantry so I could talk shit for the rest of my life, or something like that. I think it's what,
She's got your number.
Yeah.
She knows.
Okay. It's really cool ones. They're cool shirts.
They are very cool.
Yeah, white American flags on the sleeves, and you know, cross rifles and stuff. You know, pretty cool. I like them. Stuff on the back.
You should wear it on the next Sidetrack show that we do tomorrow.
We can do that.
Show them off.
Yeah.
You can even change them out in the middle, like, and I can make like a stripper sound. You know?
See that she's trying to get
stripper
me in trouble.
Music.
She's trying to get me in trouble. See.
Well, yeah.
And if I did that, I would just have all these damn friend requests from all these women. That's what would happen. You have to put, and gays. I get a lot of friend requests from gay guys. I accept it. You know what I mean? I'm not hiding from the gays.
You're not hiding.
I'm not hiding from the gays.
I'm sure they appreciate that.
Yeah, just like any other dude. You know, motherfucker gets frisky, I block him. You know, that doesn't happen that much. Though.
I was gonna say, how often does that happen?
A couple times. It's happened a couple times, but not a lot.
We love you guys. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, I didn't know the dude who did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's like your raw sexuality will just kind of like.
How are they gonna resist?
Right. That's what I mean. This is like so apropos that you're doing this like on the Steven Seagal show.
Like men.
Yeah. Well, because that, like I said, if Steven Seagal
just like a leather daddy, man.
Steven Seagal is like you
Yeah.
But without a sense of humor. Like
yeah,
you
so
have
you say no, right?
Like you have
He's a fake though. I did my shit.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's like you have a sense of humor about shit,
Yeah.
and he does not.
No.
Not at all.
No.
And
a real fighter has gotten his ass beat a bunch of times. He loses a lot, especially
he
in the
wouldn't even
beginning.
do that in his movies.
Yeah, he wouldn't even do one of those. Yeah.
He has like fucking magic powers and shit.
Yeah.
Like he can't ever. I think the only time he's ever played a villain was in that Robert Rodriguez movie Machete.
Yeah.
He was in that, and he actually played a villain, and I was surprised. And I was like, oh, maybe he does have like a tiny modicum of self-awareness, enough to play a villain. But it does seem like he usually. I mean, because I know some action stars, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he doesn't like to play villains and stuff like that. I know some action stars don't like to.
Well, that's a business decision.
And that's a business decision, like, because if you get stuck playing villains, all you get typecast, and I understand that. But it really does seem like Steven Seagal, like, even, like, all your action heroes, I mean, the whole point of, like, an action movie, if your dude is, like, a superhero with no weaknesses, who can do everything perfectly, then there's no drama, there's no conflict, there's no anything. So it seems like a good action movie would have your hero. It's like a Predator.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is a big giant dude. He's very powerful and stuff like that. But he's pitted against some like an alien creature,
a bigger badass from another planet
that is a bigger badass than him. So it's like it's much more compelling to watch because he might not.
Well, that's
win.
what I was gonna say. I was saying real badasses are fighting other badasses,
right?
Which means that they lose a lot. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you're going around fighting what's his name, the little actor from
John Leguizamo.
Yeah, which he was great in Romeo and Juliet, man.
I love that guy.
Yeah,
he was in Land of the Dead too. He's been in a shit ton of stuff.
You're going after guys like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like half his size. And it's like all he did.
And Leguizamo's cool as shit. He's like he's just a cool little dude, you know.
I love John.
Real talented, you know. Great, he's a good actor, and you know.
Yeah, that was the story, and like I saw him tell the story.
Yeah.
He was on. They were working. It was Executive Decision, right? That has Kurt Russell in it. Now some people like that movie because Steven Seagal fucking dies in it. Spoiler alert. But yeah. So John Leguizamo is in that, and apparently, according to him, Seagal comes out. Was he like a producer on that movie, or was he financing or some shit like that?
Something like that.
Something
he was
like that.
kind of in charge of it. I don't think he was directing.
Yeah. So yeah, he didn't direct it, but so he comes out and he says something like, in total seriousness, like, I'm in charge, and it's like, it's my way. My way is law. Anybody have a problem with that, or something like that? John Leguizamo, understandably, like, laughed, because probably he thought he was, like, joking. Like, okay, whatever, man.
Yeah.
And then, like, poor little sensitive Steven Seagal, like, gets all upset about it and just punched this guy who's, like, half his fucking size.
He didn't punch him. He banged into him and
into
got
the
him
wall.
up against the wall.
And knocked the wind out of him.
Yeah, put him in, like, a little hole. He's going, why? Why'd you do that? And and he just... Motherfucker got sensitive, you know.
It was I laughed because like on the interview, I don't remember who the interview was with, but John Leguizamo was talking about. He's like when Steven Seagal said that, he's like, I laughed because he sounded like a retard.
Yeah.
Because if Steven Seagal came into something your workplace that you were working on, even if he had funded it and shit, and he came in total seriousness in that stupid fucking voice that he has, and he's just like, my way's the law, and nobody likes it and stuff. I mean, you would laugh too.
You're getting
Everyone
You're getting ahead of yourself.
Well, I told you
he doesn't have a stupid voice. He's a fine actor, okay?
I don't even know what his real voice sounds like, honestly, because it's different in every single movie.
His version of acting is to put on a voice.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And that's how he changes his race. Sometimes he's black, sometimes he's Italian, sometimes he's Chinese. You know, he can be... I've never heard him be an Irishman, but that's...
I'm sure it's out there. He's made like 50 million movies in the last 20 years.
Become like from New York. He just puts on a voice.
I think that's kind of what he's doing.
And I think his default voice, though, is... what's his name? Clint Eastwood. He's kind of doing...
Yeah, because he's like mumbling all the time.
Clint Eastwood voice.
I can barely hear him most of the time, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But Russell does a Clint Eastwood voice.
But Kurt Russell is
and he does it well.
Is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and he does John Wayne when he was fucking in Big Trouble in Little China. He was doing John Wayne.
Yeah.
But I think that's Seagal's standard default voice is Clint Eastwood. That's what it sounds like.
I said, seriously, I haven't seen, like, a lot of his movies. I've seen, like, all the, big action ones, I've seen Under Siege. I've seen, like, Hard to Kill and all those. And we watched a couple newer, well, we scrolled through them because I didn't want to sit through them. But, like, we saw some of the newer ones.
He's not really in the new movies.
I saw, yeah.
He makes an appearance.
And I saw, like, some clips of his reality show, which he has, if you guys didn't know. And in that one, which you would presume he was using his real voice, because it's supposed to be a reality show, and it's supposed to, that's not his real voice either.
No.
He's, like, talking like, he's in Louisiana, right? And it's like, he goes around to, like, the neighborhoods, and they're calling, like, answering a caller. It's because it's, like, cops.
Yeah.
And he goes around, and he talks like a black guy.
He's black, yeah. Becomes black.
Where they at?
Yeah.
Where they at?
Yeah. He uses ebonics, and it's fake.
I'm like, you don't talk like
fake
that.
ebonics.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Now, what's the deal with that show? Because I've never really seen that show. He's a deputy. Is he a real deputy, or is he just pretending to be a deputy?
Here's the thing. Okay, now this is another thing where
he's not really a cop.
No,
I don't think so.
Well, because this is another thing where it's like there's like a tiny little kernel. A little Orville Redenbacher popcorn kernel of truth, and then it just has this whole big Jiffy Pop of bullshit around it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a reality show.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so it was called Steven Seagal Lawman. It ran for several seasons, 3 seasons, or something like that. It was on some like weird channel that I'd never heard of, but no, maybe it was on A&E, but then it went to a weird channel I was never heard of. Because there were 2 of them. He did one called True Justice, too, which was fictional series, but I think he was playing a cop on that as well.
Okay.
This one is basically like Cops. It's set in this little bitty town in Louisiana. Now, from what Seagal says, he was like, for 20 years or whatever it was, and he was talking about this in like the late 90s or early 2000s or whatever it was. He says for 20 years he's worked as a cop in this parish in Louisiana. He got, I guess, like during when he was filming one of his movies down there, like I guess the sheriff at the time was like a big fan. So he said, hey, he asked him to like come train the cops. I don't know what Steven Seagal could teach them how to do, but it's like, it's funny because
probably hand to hand.
Yeah, it's shit like that.
You're right.
So they asked him to come down there. So he's been like coming there. I mean, everybody that's there says, well, he's not here all the time, obviously, because he's not really, really a cop. It's just like, it's pretty much just a ceremonial position. He kind of said, I think...
So he's a volunteer sheriff.
That pretty much.
Is what you're saying.
Because I think he said that he had gone to, like, the police academy and all that shit, but, like, the whatever thing that, like, certifies cops does not have any record of him doing that.
Yeah, he made up his credentials.
So that's what I mean. So that's the thing where he is an honorary cop there. Like, he does actually apparently have the right to, like, go around and do cop shit, but... He said, oh, no, I've been to the academy and I've done this and that, which is apparently not true.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't know why he can't just be happy with his accomplishments, which are, like I said, he has, like, more accomplishments than most people.
Right.
That are impressive. So it's like, why does he just constantly feel the need to, like, embellish?
It's not enough.
But it's just not
enough.
So he must be, like, a deeply, deeply insecure person. Because that's something that, like, really insecure people do.
Well, I think what happened is his peers were fucking with him. So he has to top. He's trying to constantly rise to the occasion. Where my whole contact with Seagal started, I was in Egypt at the time on the MFO mission with the 101st.
Yeah.
And we went back to South Camp after I was on a place called OP-311, which was it was a desert island in the middle of the Gulf of Aqaba. And there were only like 6 guys on it. We would pull like 25 days worth of duty on there at a time, and then go back to South Camp for a few days to rest up, and then go back out there to that island. And then another phase, I was doing desert patrols. But anyway, while I was back at South Camp, they were showing 3 free movies on the VHS on television. We had a big television there at the on post or the in camp little bar, and it was Under Siege.
Yeah.
And everybody fucking enjoyed it. We're like, oh yeah.
It's kind of a fun movie. I mean, Steven Seagal is like, he's in it and he's like the star, but he has like other big stars. It's like an actual
Tommy Lee Jones was in it, and
not like some of his other ones.
Tommy Lee Jones was in it, and
Gary Busey.
Gary Busey was in it, and they put on a real good show. Well, one of the
it
guys next to me was like, "Yeah, man, that's Steven Seagal. He used to be a Navy SEAL." So it kind of went around. He used to be a Navy SEAL. We all heard that.
Well, he'd like everyone to know that. To think that.
Well, there was something in that movie. I don't remember what it was. Later on, I'm watching it, and he did something, and I was going like, that doesn't look like. I don't know if I
was it how he runs?
No, I think I saw how he ran later. All right.
Because that's really something to behold.
Right. Well, so this evidently got the unit on a Steven Seagal kick. Okay.
They're all trying to like get to the bottom of this shit.
No, they weren't trying to get to the bottom of it. It's just that they liked that movie, so they started showing other movies.
Oh, okay.
And later on, I don't know if it was a month or so later, when we were resting up again, back at South Camp, I saw another movie, and I think it might have been Hard to Kill or something. Street Justice or what was...
That was... Hard to Kill was 89.
Didn't matter what year it was, because we could get VHS tapes from any year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? But it was before. It was one of the older ones. And I saw his arms. He wore something that was sleeveless, and I don't think that was in Under Siege.
Yeah, he was just had the chef's whites on him.
I saw his arms, and I went, "Whoa, that dude is a Navy SEAL." And I was going like, "That dude is not a Navy SEAL." And then a little bit later, it might have been that same night, I saw him run, and I was like, "No fucking way, no fucking way," because if you're in the service, especially if you're in like a combat arms unit, you run a lot in formation. And there's a certain run, a certain cadence that just kind of gets ingrained in you over the fucking miles and miles and miles. You know how to run. There's an efficient way of running.
Yeah.
That dude just did not run like a dude who had to run for his job, And his arms just looked, there was just no conditioning in those arms. A Navy SEAL is basically an Olympic swimmer. And they're built like Olympic swimmers. You know what I mean? They're, at least in my day, in those days. I don't know what they're like now. I don't know if they've dropped the fucking standards or what. A Navy SEAL in the 90s was almost, you're talking about physical perfection.
Yeah, it would have to be.
These dudes are Olympic type swimmers. And I just wasn't seeing it. So that was the first
Olympic
time.
swimmer is not the first thing that comes to my mind when I see Steven Seagal. Even in his heyday.
And they're a little bit more bulky than an Olympic swimmer. You know what I mean? Because
they're pretty lean. They have to be.
Yeah, they're actually a Navy SEAL is like a bulked up looking swimmer.
Yeah,
because that's what they do. They're divers.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this dude now, and his age it didn't work out because a Navy SEAL is basically a lifer. He's going to do 20 years. Why is he not... At his age, he should have still been in the SEALs.
Right.
When he said that. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't think I ever really said anything to anybody else, but I had wheels turning in my head. I was going like, that dude can't be a Navy SEAL. I was like, little did I know. I started to suspect, but little did I know that dude was a fucking fraud when it came to that kind of shit. He was like Frank Dux. I call him Ducks.
Yeah.
Not Dukes, but Ducks. Okay, that's how that shit's spelled.
Yeah, there's no umlaut or no shit on there.
Frank Ducks, all right.
You should put an umlaut on it.
These dudes are stolen valor motherfuckers. You know what I mean? They like to pretend they're secret agents from Special Forces, Delta Force, CIA, all that shit rolled into one. It doesn't work that way, man. Those dudes are fucking in those units for their whole fucking lives.
Well, yeah, that's a commitment.
It's a commitment. You just can't go, I'm going to be Special Forces and do 18 months and then get out and talk shit at a bar. Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
No.
That dude doesn't see the light of day until he's in his late 30s. You know what I mean? Maybe 40s. It's about time. Maybe he's done 20 years by then. And what does he do? He rolls out and then becomes some kind of contractor, security contractor, making $100,000 a year, $150,000, $200,000 a year. They make more money when they get out of Special Forces than when they're in, and they vanish. They go off into some fucking contractor world. They're always gone. You just don't see them. You know? So they're not out making movies.
Yeah, well,
You know?
see, that's the thing. Like, a lot of the timeline shit, it just doesn't
work.
line up.
It doesn't line up.
Like
Now,
I said, it was just the same with him saying that he just can't, it's almost like he just can't be happy with what he did. Like, okay, here's an example. He's like, one of the claims that he makes, I was the first non-Westerner to open a karate a dojo in Japan, which is not entirely a lie, but it's not entirely true either, because the dojo that he taught at belonged to his father-in-law.
Yeah.
And his wife at the time, who was Japanese, also taught there as well. So he did teach at a dojo there, but he didn't open it. He didn't run it. It wasn't. It was his father-in-law's dojo.
Right. Now, some guys might say, well, Jesse the Body was a SEAL, and he made movies. True.
When he was older.
But here's another thing. Jesse the Body was not an active duty SEAL. Jesse the Body was in a reserve unit.
Yeah.
So he was, I guess you could say, he was kind of like a part-time SEAL. And he never saw combat. And that was during the Vietnam era.
Yeah.
When basically they were having a hard time getting anybody to do those kind of jobs.
Yeah.
You know. Was Jesse the Body a badass? Yes, he was. He was very much a badass. And that's one of the reasons why I liked Predator 1. Pretty much everybody in Predator 1, all those guys were ex-service.
But like I said,
including fucking Arnold. Arnold was a German tanker.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget that. Arnold was in the service.
Well, like I said, that's what made that movie good, was because,
those dudes were real dudes.
If those dudes were real dudes and, like, they were scared of this monster, then obviously the monster was, like, as big or badass than they were, which, like I said, that causes a lot of conflict and shit like that. Yeah. If you're going to pull a Seagal and, one, go around telling everybody you're a badass, which, obviously you're not a badass if you have to go around telling everybody, but also, it's like, in his movies, he won't allow, like, anyone to, like, get anything over on him. He never gets hit. He never gets shot. He never gets hurt. Yeah. It's like, and everything that happens in the movies, he knows how to do perfectly. He knows how to do everything. It's like, he can't just be, like, in a movie and just be like even in Under Siege, for Christ's sake, which was actually kind of an enjoyable movie, it's like, he can't just be a cook. He has to be like an ex-Navy SEAL, and he has to be an expert marksman, and he has to be this, that, and the other. Right. He has to be like everything. He has to know how to do everything.
Part of that, though, was the time in which those movies were made.
I know. A lot of them are like that. They're not believable.
They were not supposed to be realistic. They were basically fantasy movies. They were hero fantasy movies. That way, you know what I mean, some kid that's watching it or somebody who's watching it can kind of project themselves into the role, saying, yeah, I'd do that. I could do that. You know what I mean? Look, I got a cookie cat in front of me. You just gonna sit there?
Get the back of Pookie's head.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and like, she's like in Mystery Science Theater mode. She's just like sitting there commenting on what Mommy and Daddy are doing.
Basically, your average action movie for a long time was something dumb, kind of like Bloodsport.
Yeah.
It was almost kind of like a live action video
Although
game.
that was also wildly entertaining.
Yeah, Bloodsport is a fucking classic. I like Bloodsport. I
like Bloodsport.
Bloodsport is just something that's just so fucking dumb with Jean-Claude Van Damme's face and shit. You know what I mean?
He does make the best
and
faces.
And just punching people in the balls and the kumite. And she was fucking awesome.
I know, right?
We didn't take that shit seriously.
Right.
A modern audience, especially millennials, see that shit and they may kind of misunderstand. This is what these people watched? No, it's not what people watched. That's what fucking crazy motherfuckers watched, and we didn't take it seriously. That was kind of like a live action version of the fucking video game Shinobi.
Yeah.
Which I love that game.
Well, see, the thing is, though, that as far as I know, and please correct me because I'm not like an expert or anything, but it's like, as far as I know, Jean-Claude Van Damme didn't go around for 20, 30 years after Bloodsport came out saying that shit was real, that he had really done all that.
No, that was the story
that was Frank Dukes.
Frank Dukes.
That's the guy that did
said
that.
That was him.
But,
actually, Van Damme was actually pretty legit.
Well, yeah.
He was pretty legit. He didn't walk around talking shit and making things up about himself. He really did most of what he said he did. And really, he was an actor, martial artist, and he seemed to be pretty intelligent. He had a drug problem.
Yeah.
Like cocaine, you know. But
I mean, like I said, a lot of the martial arts fighters, it's like, yeah, you can shit on them for, like, being in action movies and stuff like that. But most of the ones, like you said, Van Damme and stuff like that, were actually martial artists that had, documented wins in fights and things like that.
He was built.
Yeah, and he was actually in really, really good shape.
Right. If you were to take Van Damme and put him in his trunks and put him next to fucking Seagal when in his prime,
yeah,
no
difference.
comparison. No
big
comparison.
Difference. And that segues very perfectly into a quote that I found by Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
This is what Sylvester Stallone said.
What does Sly say?
Van Damme was tired of Seagal saying he could kick his ass.
Yeah.
And went right up to him and offered him the chance to step outside so he could wipe the floor with him.
Right.
Or should I say wipe the backyard with him.
Right.
Seagal made some excuse and left.
Oh, of course.
His destination was some Ocean Drive nightclub in Miami. Van Damme, who was completely berserk, tracked him down and again offered him a fight, and again Seagal pulled a Houdini. Because he knew that Van Damme would probably fucking turn him into fucking paste.
This goes back to me analyzing what Seagal was doing in his prime. You know what I mean? Doing Aikido. They got it on film.
Yeah.
You have to keep this shit fucking real when you see what he's doing. He's dressed in like a samurai, like a gi. Okay, it's similar pants to what samurai wore.
Yeah,
with long sleeve kind of gi shirt on top of that. He's a tall guy. He's probably maybe 6'2".
He's 6'4".
6'4",
actually.
okay.
6'4", 6'5",
so
something
he's
like
real
that.
tall.
He's very tall.
But that Aikido outfit, because it's so broad, because the way it's cut, it makes him look fucking massive.
Yeah.
And when he's standing next to somebody else, he looks fucking huge. And he was dominating those guys, but it was mostly pushing and shit like that. And
yeah, it mostly just looks like pushing or like moving people aside. It doesn't look like a lot of force.
There was one time where it got kind of real. 4 dudes tried to pile on.
Yeah,
he successfully fended them off. So I would say he wasn't incompetent. He could do that shit.
At least in his heyday,
well,
sure.
if you were to take him out of that fucking outfit, you'd see that he was a beanpole.
Yeah.
He was fucking skinny. His arms were very skinny. He didn't have a lot of mass, like raw power, all right? Van Damme would have fucked him up. Van Damme was fucking solid. And when he was in his prime, he had a lot of muscle on him.
And he was fast. Yeah.
And he was fast and powerful. Van Damme would have fucked him up.
I agree. I think so too. And evidently Sylvester Stallone also thought so.
Yeah, and evidently Seagal thought so because he fucking was.
Because he's like, whatever, bitch. Yeah. I don't know how tall Van Damme is, but
he's not that tall, but he's that's a very conditioned muscle, and he's fucking very flexible. He's very fast and athletic. You know what I mean? He's funny though, man. There's something about European dudes. I don't want to be fucking shitting on European dudes, you know.
But you're about to.
I'm about to. Back in those days, they had a funny way of expressing male sexuality, and to look. When an American man wanted to look sexy, he'd probably just take his shirt off, and fucking put a gun over his shoulder, like the Marlboro Man or something, you know.
And it's like he had a big old chest
hair and shit.
Hair,
he'd have a fucking
like Chuck Norris, which is so fucking gross.
Yeah, you know. So then he'd have a fucking some moonshine in a jug, you know.
Well, it depends on what part of the country you're talking about.
you know, in front of a fucking Jeep, big ass monster truck.
Want a big ZZ Top beer too?
Yeah,
Might
he'd
as
reach
well.
down there and fucking move his package over to the left side so everybody knows he's a right-hander. Fucking, you know what I mean? That's the way an American dude's gonna do the shit, you know? Something weird about these damn European guys from that time. They want to get in those little bitty fucking Speedo shorts and like pose with a leopard or something. And it always kind of looked gay to me.
Yeah, but they're trying to appeal to everybody.
Maybe.
Ladies like it, dudes like it, everybody
I don't know,
likes
man. No, dudes weren't liking it.
Well,
no.
I think they were liking it on the down low.
Although I'm also talking shit because you know what I mean. Fucking Arnold was European, but he got it.
Yeah.
Although you know it's funny though, Arnold could look very cool and he could do really cool shit, especially Predator 1 and fucking Terminator. He was not very sexy either. He did not exude any kind of sexuality.
No.
He did exude kind of power, but it was kind of cold.
Yeah.
He was like a character.
Yeah, he does not. Yeah, he's not a sex symbol at all.
I didn't think so. No.
Like, I'm not saying that he's not like a good-looking dude and he's in shape and stuff like in his heyday.
Yeah.
But he's not ugly. It's just there's something not. I mean,
he was kind of artificial.
There's a difference between like physically attractive or pretty or handsome or whatever and sexy. Those are two different things. Sometimes they overlap, but sometimes they don't.
He just didn't seem to be the kind of guy that would actually like dominate a scene in a club and get a whole bunch of women, you know what I mean, and be like the center of attention with the but you know who kind of did though? Sylvester Stallone looked like he could fucking slay it. Yeah, I got a feeling that he could talk.
Yeah,
you know,
he like I said, Stallone always seemed more like. I mean, he always seemed more appealing because he seemed more like an everyman, because he seemed like a working class Joe. Also, but he was also a writer, and so he seemed like more intelligent. Like he seemed like he had something going on.
Well, all that is just Rocky. Mm-hmm. That's not the way he is. He doesn't talk like that. A lot of people think that,
yeah, that was just that character.
Was just that one character. That's not how he is.
And that kind of got associated with him
Rocky
as a person,
and Rambo
they
were kind of like, that's not how he was. Evidently, that dude was super intelligent.
He always struck me as, I mean, like I said, he kind of gets dinged for playing like characters that are like, these mush-mouthed idiots. But he doesn't, as a person, he never struck me.
By all accounts, when he came into a fucking party, he was the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
I
believe that. Like I said, and the thing about it, you have to admire Stallone because he kind of came at it. I mean, he wrote Rocky, and he basically said, I want to make this movie, and I'm going to star in it.
Yeah.
And if you don't let me star in it, then I don't want to fucking deal with you anymore. And they let him do it.
Out of all these dudes...
And it's a fucking classic.
Out of all these dudes that we're talking about from that era, I grew up with those motherfuckers, all right? Some of you youngsters, they're just seeing this shit in retrospect. I was there at the time, so was she. Stallone was the best of them all, and right there with him was Arnold. They were different.
I always like Stallone because, like I said, he was more like a Renaissance man.
But Stallone, they had a huge rivalry between the two. You know, Arnie's movies, I liked him better. But Stallone, I liked Stallone.
Stallone is a better actor.
And he's a better actor, and he was kind of more, I don't want to say a better man. They were different. I liked Stallone better. Stallone was more versatile. Stallone is
more down to earth. Yeah, he's more versatile. Right. He was more talented. He had like a wider range of talents.
He was artistic.
Yeah.
And Arnie wasn't artistic. He was business minded and very driven and disciplined. But he wasn't as artistic.
Yeah, he didn't really have, and like I said, I really do feel like Stallone is a better actor. Schwarzenegger surprisingly has gotten better in his older age because
Aftermath was good.
Yeah, Aftermath and Maggie and stuff like really that, where he like played something like outside of his usual type.
His performance in the new Terminator. Was that Terminator 7 or some shit like that?
Yeah.
His performance was really good. I didn't like that movie, but he acted well in it.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the role. I think they bastardized the Terminator role a little bit, and I think they weakened him. But he did a good job.
Yeah.
He's a better actor than he ever was.
Yeah, I think he has actually gotten better with age. But, like you said, Stallone seems more like a real person.
Yeah.
Whereas Arnold always came across... That's why he was so good in Terminator and stuff like that, because he comes across a little bit like a robot.
He's a Greek statue.
Like,
what he is. He's
not a real person. Which is why he's not sexy.
Right. He's an icon of a man.
Yeah.
He's symbolic of a man.
Yeah.
He's not a man. You know what I'm talking about?
Like he's
more like a Greek god.
Yeah, the way he comes across is not.
The way he comes across is like a Greek god in a mythological tale. And that's the way his movies are all kind of like listening to a mythological tale.
Yeah, like Conan and all that,
Yeah. So
there's nothing wrong with that.
It's just the style of
that's just how he rolls.
That's how he rolled, and that was the style of the movies that they put him in. Now we got to get back to Seagal.
Yeah, and like I said, now the issue with Seagal is that he couldn't just like leave well enough alone. It's like he had like a handful of really successful action movies. He apparently could do some of the martial arts and shit like that, even though I should say, even though he goes around telling everybody that, he can do this, that, and the other thing, really the only videos of him that I have seen doing the Aikido and stuff like that, it's always like in a dojo.
Yeah.
It's not like in a competition. It's not like in an actual fight or anything like that. Whereas, people like, Jean-Claude Van Damme or somebody like that, there is like footage of them actually like fighting or like, in competitions. Steven Seagal, not so much. It's like there's video of him like training some people. There's some videos of him like old ones like from his dojo or whatever where he was doing, because I was that video that you were talking about earlier where they were doing, I guess it was like the black belt test or whatever for his students or whatever, and he would have like 4 or 5 dudes like attack you, and then you'd have to like use Aikido or whatever to like get them off, and it does look like that was kind of working, but that, I mean, in a dojo, that's kind of a controlled situation.
Yeah, and a lot of times, with my experience of old school dojos and the guys that were in those dojos, those weren't the baddest ass motherfuckers in the town. When you look at those guys, the guys who were attacking on Seagal, they were kind of milk toasty.
They were all smaller than him.
They were all little guys. They were all little guys, and they were little students. You know what I mean? You're not talking about the toughest motherfuckers.
They're just trying to get their belts, man.
Right.
They weren't like going balls to the wall.
You're not talking about the 4 toughest motherfuckers in town. You're talking about the guys that got beat up and went to the fucking dojo to learn to defend themselves. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Ninja Jim got his ass beat. That's why he was in the fucking...
Well, I feel like that happened a lot, particularly in the 80s. Like, kids that were bullied and stuff like that, they wanted... Which, that's cool because...
Karate Kid.
I mean, martial arts, it does teach you discipline. It's good for your, physical fitness. It's like, I don't know how good it is in a fight. Depends on what kind of martial art it is. But, it's good for your confidence and stuff. But the problem is, and I think this is another thing that Steven Seagal has a problem with, is that... you're good at that. Like, you're good at kind of sparring. Maybe you can, like, train some people to do some shit in hand-to-hand combat. Maybe, maybe he did that to a limited extent. But then it seems like he kind of takes that and makes it so that he's, like, the biggest badass ever. And he can just kick anyone's ass. But then he won't do it. Like, because there is all these, like, MMA fighters and, like, stuntmen and stuff like that. They've all, like, all the people that have gotten, like, dissed or shit on by Steven Seagal and he, like, did shit to them. There's, like, 12 of them. They're called the Dirty Dozen. And they have an open thing. I don't know if they still have it, but they have an open thing where they're like, hey, Steven Seagal, if you want to, like, put your fucking money where your mouth is, we're all right here. Like,
So they got 12 guys out there, huh?
Well, at least 12. They just call it the Dirty Dozen. There might be more than that. But, they're basically like, well, hey, come on, we'll fight you. But he won't do it because he would get his fucking ass beat, especially nowadays because he weighs like 400 pounds.
Well, I think what happened was I think he had a little successful thing going on with the Aikido for a while. And I don't know if you were able to find anything out. How did he actually come in contact with the Hollywood scene? Do we know?
Well, what ended up happening, okay, so... He actually did train in Japan. Like I said, he was married to a Japanese woman for a time. Her dad had a dojo, and he taught at it. Him and the Japanese wife, they had a couple of kids, neither of which want anything to do with him, by the way. Okay. It was a daughter. She's a dancer, I think, now. She doesn't even use his last name. She uses the mom's last name. And he has a son who's also an actor and a model. And... he does not speak to his father because apparently he's not a big fan. So, because what ended up happening was that Seagal came over to LA he was working as a bodyguard for Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah, which he ended up marrying her.
And then, and he fucked around with his Japanese wife with her. Right. And then the Japanese wife, understandably...
she was the woman from
Weird
Science. And back in the day, man...
Yeah, she was like the hottest of the hot.
She was like the it girl. She was from Australia, I think, wasn't she? Was it Australian?
Was she Australian or British?
I think she might have been Australian.
I can't really remember.
But, no, look, Kelly LeBrock was like the it girl for a few years, man. She was a beautiful woman, though.
She is beautiful.
And I actually think she was pretty cool. I don't know what the hell she was doing with him.
I don't know either.
I don't think it lasted long.
It did not.
And
they had 2 or 3 kids, though.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah.
So they were together for a while.
And apparently, she has not said this outright, but she has implied that he beat her up. that he was physically abusive.
Right.
And emotionally abusive, which does not shock me one little bit.
Well, he tries to use mind games on people. So he's probably mentally abusive, and when that doesn't work, he might get physical. Or he may, try to put his pimp hand on a woman. It's probably what he's trying to do.
You want to hear something special? This is fucking special. So when they were doing, I guess it was Under Siege 2. And Katherine Heigl, who became, she's quite famous later on for Knocked Up and several of Seth Rogen comedies and whatnot. She was only 16 in this fucking movie. And there is a photograph of Steven Seagal hugging on 16-year-old Katherine Heigl.
Yeah.
With his hand clearly on her tit.
Yeah, hand on her
Now, she has been asked about this. She was on Jimmy Kimmel and everything like that. And they asked her about this. And she said, I was 16 years old. And she said... that Steven Seagal said to her, like, when he met her, when he was talking to her, he said, I have girlfriends your age. She's 16.
Yeah, and she goes,
and she says,
Mom!
Isn't that illegal?
Yeah.
And he said, they don't seem to mind. And then she was like, Mom! Understandably. Mm-hmm. And like that fucking picture that went viral and stuff like that, you could tell from her face she's smiling. She's like, please help me. It was like horrifying. Horrifying. She was 16.
Yeah.
He is such a creep.
That man knows no bounds.
And also, allegedly, we should probably wait till after the break to get into that, but allegedly, he kept sex slaves.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah. I think that's been mischaracterized, but...
I don't think so.
I think it was mischaracterized.
Well, honestly, he has had so many fucking sexual harassment accusations against him, and, like, even famous people like Jenny McCarthy, and, like, she's a crazy anti-vaxxer, whatever, but that doesn't mean she deserves to get fucking sexually harassed. So, she had a claim against him. Several other actors, had claims against him. Portia de Rossi said that he had sexually assaulted or sexually harassed her. There's several of his executives, like his assistants, like people that work for him and stuff like that. So it's like a lot. So I feel like there that many, you can't really ignore that shit.
But the sex slave thing, I think he just had hookers on the payroll. That's what I think that was.
That's not good, though, is it?
No, but
I'm pretty sure they were underage. They were underage.
A sex slave implies that you've captured a woman or bought a woman from slavers.
Who's to say
and
that he didn't? Allegedly.
I think it's kind of a stretch.
I don't know. I kind of feel like he's exactly the type of dude that would do that.
I think that shit got dropped, but I think what it was I think it was just hookers on the payroll.
I think he paid everyone off, I think what he did.
Maybe.
Because I think a lot of the accusations that were made against him, like suddenly he like talks to the lawyers and then suddenly the allegations disappear. So I think like he paid some people off like to stop talking about it.
Okay.
Like to paid the victims off or whatever. Hey, here's like $100,000 or something like that. Just shut up.
Is it time for a break?
Let me see. Yeah, probably. We're about an hour in.
All right.
So we're going to take a break, probably refill drinks, maybe. Well, maybe not.
I got enough left.
I think I have less. But yeah, so we got to...
This is going by fast.
We got to think of some more, like, fucking... There's so many more fucking Steven Seagal
more
stories.
shit. We got to come up with some more shit.
There's so much more. This,
you got it there, huh?
This dude is just, like, a fascinating character.
I'm telling you, man. I mean... This isn't a paranormal case. You might want to call this true crime. I don't know what you want to call this.
Well,
this
it's got something for everybody.
It's got something for everyone. To me, it's just entertainment, and I wanted to have a good, fun show tonight, and I think this is a fucking fun show. I don't care.
Even though, like I said,
and I'm sure people are being nostalgic along with us.
We can laugh about it and shit like that, but I mean, we make jokes during our serial killer shows too, even though we're making jokes about terrible people. This is just another one of those. Steven Seagal is not a serial killer that we know of.
No, he's not yet.
But
he's just kind of...
He also kind of sucks. And it's funny to make fun of him just because he thinks he's super awesome.
I could hang out with Steven Seagal as long as he was fucking respectful with me. If he started fucking talking shit,
I don't think that's what would happen though, because
to be a dick?
The second that you try to, like seriously, everybody that has ever worked with him, like everybody that's ever, even like stuntmen that have worked on his movies, like Kane Hodder, the guy that plays Jason Voorhees on several of the Friday the 13th movies. Every single one of them has said, look, he's a giant douche.
Yeah.
It's like he comes on the set, he tells everybody else what to do. He's really, really condescending. And it's like he won't, like, he doesn't want to rehearse. He doesn't want to, like, when they try to do, like, rehearse the parts, and it's like, hey, don't, like, pull your punches like you're supposed to. It's a movie. And it's like, he won't do that. Like, he'll really hit people and they're just like, hey, Steve, like, chill the fuck out. But it's like, it just seems like he's so insecure that he has to go around, like, all the time, like, swinging his dick around. And it just, I don't know. It just seems like it's gotten into this really horrible feedback loop now where, like, the more people make fun of him, the more of a dick he becomes because he's just going to go around singing, like, oh, everyone's picking on me because I'm fat and because of my weird hairline and because of the weird way I run and stuff like that. So it's, you know what I mean? One of the best lines I ever, and seriously, if you go, like, I used to read cracked.com all the time. And I don't know if you guys know, but, like, the best writer on there, and he only puts up stuff, like, every now and then, is called Sean Baby. And he wrote, he read the stupid, crazy novel that Steven Seagal wrote, if you guys didn't know. And he also wrote one called 7 Superpowers that Steven Seagal thinks he has. But he's written all these articles about him, and one of the best lines that he ever said about fucking Steven Seagal was that he runs like a penguin was kidding.
That's good. Now, do you have the 7 superpowers?
You know what? I can look it up during the break.
All right.
It's a very long article, and I can't I probably can't read the whole thing because it would just be like copyright infringement.
Right.
But yeah. So there's like a lot of really funny shit on Cracked because they never tire of like making fun of Steve. It's fun to make fun of him just because he's so self-important. And he takes himself so seriously, and people that take themselves that seriously are just like fucking ripe for mockery.
Yeah,
you know. The thing
is that I like Steven Seagal's in an ironic kind of way. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
a lot of people do. Does anyone genuine like? I'm sure somebody does.
Well, I've never met the guy. You know what I mean? I'd have to fucking meet him in person, and maybe he'd be cool to me. You know what I mean? Who's the dude that the basketball player that went to North Korea? Who said that
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman said that Kim Jong-un was good to him.
And that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
He can
wipe out millions of people. It don't matter.
He was nice to me, though.
Nice to me. And
it's all good.
I'm on Rodman status
with Steven Seagal.
I'm on. No, just on general. I'm more judge a person on how they word are to me.
That's a little self-centered.
Well, I can't control what they do. And their relationship with the world. You know what I mean? I can't control it.
You can tell them that they suck, though.
Well, I could do that, too. But I'll be, if they're polite to me, then I'm polite back. I kind of
have the feeling that, like, knowing your personality...
It's instinct.
Because...
He would rub me the wrong way, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would rub you the wrong way probably immediately. I mean, like, because he just rubs me the wrong way just watching him.
He probably would rub
for
me the wrong
5
way.
seconds on YouTube. I'm already like, nope.
But I would, this is just a.
You would end up punching him in the throat.
This is a fucking theoretical meeting in my mind between me.
Let's imagine this. How would this go down?
And Steven Seagal. All right. In my mind, the way I see it is that theoretically, if he was cool to me, I'd be cool with him. All right. I'm going to give him that, like the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? Because that's how I am as a man, But if he started acting sideways with me, I'd be like, man, fuck you, dude.
Well, see, that's the thing about Seagal, though. It's like he would probably immediately start acting sideways with you because, one, he seems like really, really massively insecure, which means that anybody that had done something that he hadn't done or was bigger than him... Or
he'd get hurt.
He would get like butt hurt, and then he would lash out by being a giant condescending douche to you, which is what it seems like he acts like that toward everybody. And like I saw some clips from his fucking reality show. So he goes in there, like I said, he's not a real cop. He's like a ceremonial cop in this parish or whatever.
He's like an auxiliary police.
Yeah, and so he goes there to like train them, which they did. Apparently the sheriff at the time, he's not the sheriff there anymore, but the sheriff at the time was a fan of his movies and like asked him to come and like do the training and stuff. And apparently that did really happen. So I'm not saying that he made that up or anything. But the footage they have of him on this reality show, like teaching the cops some stuff... He just seems like the world's biggest mansplaining douche hat, and it's like, and he's just like telling these people how to do their jobs, like with his hand, like how to shoot a gun. It's like they're cops, they know how to do the shit. It's like, stop.
He's just trying to make it look good for the camera.
Yeah, and it's like, just stop it. And it just seems like everything, and every actor that's ever worked with him, like the whole cast of Saturday Night Live, like when he was on there hosting, every single one of them said he was the worst host they ever had, because one, he was completely humorless. All he did was come in and criticize everybody, and he thought he knew better, like how to do everything, like these people that had worked there for hundreds of years or whatever. And he's just like comes in and he wants to do this, that, and the other. It's like he didn't want to do. This was back in the day when they had Dana Carvey and all them, and they did like the Hans and Franz sketches.
I remember that, yeah. And
he's like, he didn't want to do a Hans and Franz sketch because part of the sketch was that Hans and Franz were saying that they would kick Steven Seagal's ass.
And he's like, oh, you would never.
And he, no, you know. It's like I said, he can't like fucking joke about anything. He has no sense of humor at all about himself, particularly.
Yeah.
And like he just called them all stupid and all this other kind of crap. And he was just like, and also I heard that he wanted to write his own sketch about a therapist who was consulting with a rape victim and how he wanted to have sex with her.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck is the matter with you? So, like I said, this is the problem that I have with the dude. It's just like,
he probably thought that shit was funny. He probably had it written down where he thought it was funny.
Nobody else did.
That's funny.
Obviously, because that's kind of not funny. Yeah. But it's like, but he wouldn't, like, let the Hans and Franz, even though that's clearly a joke, he wouldn't, like, let himself be the butt of a joke.
Yeah.
At all. Because, like I said, he just can't.
Yeah.
And that's why people pick on him, just because it's so easy.
Yeah.
Because he's so fucking sensitive. And it's like everything, like you can't, he just doesn't have any self-deprecation. He doesn't have any sense of humor.
Are you ready for a break?
Yeah, so let's take a break. I actually might look up that article on the break and see, because I read it through a couple times today. And
if there's 6 or 7 superpowers that are concise, I'd like to hear what they are. What his superpowers are.
Okay, well, I'll look it up during the break, and then we'll talk about it after. All right, so we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
She's like, what are you doing, Mama? What are you doing, Mama? I'm putting you on TV. Look at how cute you are. Look at how cute you are. You know you're cute. You can't help yourself. You can't help yourself. I know you're not doing anything exciting because it's like your nap time. She just lays around on the bed all day. She lay around on the bed all night, too. She was, like, sleeping up at my elbow. Pretty much all night. Yeah, wash your feet. All right. I'll leave you alone. I know I'm bugging you. Oh, goodness. Yeah. You have an exhausting life, don't you, Poke? Yep. Rough life.
You love true crime. I love true crime. And I've spent the last 3 years compiling a series of the most intriguing unsolved murders of the 20th century. It's called The Faceless Villain, and Volume 3 is available now. Featuring such fascinating cases as the Ketty murders, the Carrie Babies case, the Frog Boys, the Alcasser murders, and the Inokashira Park dismemberment incident, The Faceless Villain Volume 3 is an involving exploration of unsolved slayings spanning the years from 1980 to 1999. Pick up your copy in print or ebook formats on Amazon, or download the audiobook version from audible.com, and get ready for a chilling journey through modern crime history. So, do you want to be cheesy and say that now that we're back from the break, you can say, I'll be back?
I'll be back.
See? I thought I could
I'll be back.
I thought I could get you to do it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back talking randomly about Steven Seagal, about action movies in general, kind of, but mostly about Steven Seagal. So here's one thing that I neglected to mention when we were talking about, because you guys, there's so many fucking stories about this guy. So, you know that reality show where he did cop shit, you know, that I was talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Steven Seagal, Lawman.
Yeah.
So the first season or two were in Louisiana, but then it got moved to Maricopa County, Arizona, so he could work with Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
Okay, yeah, that guy, yeah.
There was one episode of the show where they were going to investigate
Yeah.
someone who was suspected of running a cockfighting ring.
Okay.
Which is not good, but not, a big fucking crime, right? So Seagal and his little buddies decide that they're gonna go full fucking Waco on this shit. They have a tank, they have like all the fucking shit. So they come into this dude's house, and this dude is not like convicted of it or anything like that. He's just suspected of cockfighting.
Yeah.
They drive a tank through the front of his house.
Damn.
They have like fucking armed officers like all over the fucking place, shit like that.
And he's an auxiliary cop. He's doing this.
Yes.
Shit. Okay.
Him and Arpaio.
Okay.
It's like,
so he had permission.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they do all this crap. Allegedly, they kill this family's puppy. They shoot the puppy.
Damn.
Also, the guy that they were he pleaded guilty later to cockfighting, but he had like 115 chickens. And you know how Steven Seagal is always kind of like, oh, animal rights and everything like that? All of those chickens were euthanized.
Right. Yeah.
Those were the chickens that they were supposed to be saving.
Right, yeah.
By doing this fucking, we're going to drive a tank through the fucking front of this dude's house. Which, like I said, I don't agree with cockfighting, but that seems a little extreme.
Yeah, some of this animal protection shit, fucking, I don't buy it. It's all bullshit because it does get down to killing the animals that they're trying to protect.
Well, that's exactly what he did.
We just got done watching the fucking Tiger King. Everybody's seen the fucking Tiger King.
Yeah.
If the fucking authorities had their way about it, they would say, oh, all this shit's cruel to animals. They'd go in there and they'd kill every one of those fucking tigers.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Euthanize them. Because where are they going to put them? Where are they going to put them?
Well, see,
they can't release them back in the wild. The fucking
but they should at least like try to make an effort. There are like several zoos and stuff like that in the U.S. that would take them.
Maybe a few of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them. He had 200 of them.
I mean, yeah.
That's
but
why
I'm
they
just
didn't
saying,
raid them. That's why they weren't raiding them, because they know the guys from the system knew. Well, shit, if we go in there and fucking take all those damn tigers from that dude, we'll have to end up killing every one of them. That's why they didn't do it.
But that's what's fucking stupid about this shit. See, this is another thing that pisses me off about Steven Seagal is that, one, he pretends to be a Native American, which he's not. He's fucking, his mom was...
Nobody knows what race he is.
Yeah, actually, his mom was Irish and his dad was a Russian Jew.
Yeah, actually, no, that's not the exact thing that he said.
Well,
he said
you're going to go by what he said?
Yeah, this is because it was much better. It was much better.
Because it was much better.
Yeah. He was, he was Italian. He was half Italian, okay?
Nope.
Half Irish, and part Jewish.
He's half Irish, half Jewish.
Half Irish, half Jewish. No. That's not what it is.
And half Italian? That's
yeah. There was more than
that's
one.
1.5.
1.5. He said he was.
Well, because he's so fat that he's like 1.5 a person. Is that what it is?
The quote that I remembered was that he was half Irish, half Italian, and part Jewish. That might be 135%.
Yeah, it is. No, it's 150%.
Maybe. Well, he didn't say how big of a part. Just part Jewish.
He's half Jewish. His dad was a Russian Jew.
Okay. Because one of the quotes that I heard was that he was half Irish, half Italian, and part Jewish. So that's 50, and then maybe what, 25? That's 125%.
I'm not making any assumptions based on the fraction of his ethnicity.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Man.
Even though he's played pretty much every...
half and part.
But he pretends he's Asian, though. Okay. Even though he's not even a single part Asian.
He can talk Chinese, though. All of a sudden, I've seen him just, at the drop of a hat, just go complete Chinese on you.
Does
he? With the Japanese accent or Chinese accent and everything.
I've never seen that.
The wiser he gets, the more Asian he becomes.
Okay.
You didn't see that? You haven't seen that shit happen? I've seen it happen.
I feel like the last few years he's gone more in the magical Native American direction.
Is it? Okay.
Which is weird because, like I said, he kind of went in this weird thing where... Okay, so one of the stories, and I can't remember the name of the actor. I know his face. He's like a very famous like character actor. And he was in a movie playing a serial killer. And Steven Seagal was in it as well. Yeah. Now, apparently, midway during the making of this movie, Steven Seagal decided that he didn't want to kill anybody in movies anymore because it was bad karma. I don't know.
No, it was against Shinto.
Or whatever.
Not
like, he
Shinto.
didn't worry about that before when he was just, like,
Aikido.
tearing people's arms off or whatever.
It went against Aikido.
Yeah, somehow, like, it took, like, this long for him to figure that out. So he decided in the middle of filming, and he became, like, really difficult about it. And apparently, so this guy playing this is like, look, he tried to, like, talk him into, he's like, look, it's like, you know, you're denying me my my right, like, I'm a serial killer, right, in the movie. So he's like, you're, like, denying me my, that I can die and become reborn and, like, learn shit and everything.
Yeah.
So you're denying that to me by not killing me. So really, you should kind of kill me in the movie. And eventually, like, he did kind of talk to him, and, like, it seemed like Seagal was kind of, like, on board with it, but then, like, he didn't want to do it. Yeah. So this actor had to come back, and he was like, I had to go back and, like, do, like, all this ADR, like, post-production, because apparently Seagal had been, like, slipping stuff, like, ad-libbing in the rest of the movie that I'm so glad I didn't kill that guy, blah, blah, blah. He was, like, adding lines like that, and they couldn't get him to stop doing it, so they had to make this poor actor come back and, like, re-loop a bunch of his lines that made it look like he lived. Right. Even though at the end of the movie, it's like what it was supposed to be was like he was supposed to shoot him in the heart, and the heart, like, blew up, and there's like this big explosion and everything. And he's like, so I had to, like, have all these, like, lines that I had to re-loop. Yeah. Like, somebody says, oh, I'm still alive. It's like, just kill me, you bastard, whatever.
There's an explanation for all this. His peers kept fucking ribbing him and fucking publicly making fun of him, saying that he was all into Aikido, right? But Aikido was nonviolent. Yeah. But his movies were just nothing but him just beating the fuck out of dudes and killing them.
Well, yeah, it seems like hypocritical.
So he was trying to
cover his ass?
Yeah, he was trying to make it look like he was a real martial artist and that he really believed in what he, in the philosophy of Aikido, and he wanted the movies to reflect that shit would bomb in the fucking movies, all right? The directors were right. Don't fucking put Aikido
well, even that actor was like, dude, my character is a serial killer. You gotta kill,
or nobody's gonna like the movie. So he was kind of, I guess you could say he was kind of buckling under the fucking, he was buckling under the pressure that people were putting on him behind, hey, your movies are ultra-violent. But,
But the thing
theirs
about it,
were. It's
but they're not going around saying how, like, zen and fucking, like, enlightened they are.
Yeah, he was going around fucking going on with this Eastern philosophy and pulling that shit out of his ass in public. So they used that against him.
Yeah. So it's like, don't fucking do that.
He should have shut his mouth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what his whole problem is
that he ran his mouth.
Is that he just keeps running his mouth. And, like, the weird thing is, like, he has, like, this really weird, like... He has, like, these really weird, like, schizophrenic... Like, from one end, it's like he seems like extreme hippie, but then he seems like extreme right-winger at the same time. It's like this just really weird, like, contradiction. But it's like he's always kind of... He's
making things up.
Yeah, and it's like... It seems like he hasn't really thought shit through. Yeah. So, like I'm saying, that's kind of what, like, annoys me about him. And like I said, nobody is complaining that action movies are violent or that people, it's like that's what action movies are like and people like them for that. They were shitting on him because he was going around trying to make, like, some big fucking statement about how nonviolent he was. Right. And, like, meanwhile, in the movies, he's, like, punching people through the face and shit like that. It's dumb.
Now, there were some things, you know what I mean? Jenny's kind of focusing a lot on the negative. All right, which I can understand that we're putting on a show.
Because I can't stand the dude, honestly.
I did hear him say some good things, on certain shows. Like, he did defend Russia. Okay, some people are really down on Russia, and he's like, when you hear Americans talk about Russia, they think it's all just a bunch of gangsters and immoral shit, gangsters and hookers, and he kind of said Russian people are just normal people.
Well, everybody knows that.
But he was tired of hearing people slander it because he used to.
He lives in Russia now, there, I think. Yeah.
He says it's a nice.
He's buddies with Pooty Poot.
Yeah, that's a weird angle. I don't know how Putin got sucked into this.
Well, see,
Putin had to have known.
I don't know. Okay, now what I heard from one of the not from Pooty, but from some of his handlers or some of the other people high up in the government said basically that Seagal bugged us until we like introduced them and like made him some kind of like fucking emissary or some shit like that. Like he just kept bothering them, and they were implying that it's like he just kept bothering us, so we were just like kind of getting him to shut up. Maybe that's not what they meant, but that's kind of how I read it.
Yeah.
He has like met Putin.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just sucking Putin's dick
seemed
all the time.
Amused.
But in recent years, it does seem like Putin has kind of been like, yeah, just stay over there, Seagal. Because Seagal does.
I saw some old clips
like
of it, and Putin looked amused by him. I kind of think that Putin knew he was kind of a fraud.
That's what I mean. I feel like Steven Seagal is the only person that's not in on the joke of Steven Seagal.
Yeah, and I think Pooty Poot fucking looked at him and goes, "This motherfucker's a trip. Fucking this motherfucker's." He's
like, "Do I really have to do this
crazy as shit."
Come on now.
And
he is a crazy person.
They had Seagal out there fucking like destroying an entire army of Russian kids. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh yeah, well.
I saw like a lot of shit.
They had all these Russian kids and geese, and he's out there doing Aikido and
he's
tossing
beating up little kids.
They weren't. I'm calling them kids. You know what I mean? They were in their 20s or 30s. You know what I mean? But and he's tossing them this way and this way. To me, I'm going like, that shit looks fake as fuck.
It does look fake as fuck. Everything that I've seen with him like demonstrating the skill, it always looks fake.
It looked fake as fuck. And then you look at the background. It looks like he's
just basically going, and they're going, oh my god.
And you look at the background, all the Russians in their gis and shit, you know, watching the demonstration, and the look on their faces like, is that shit real?
See, so even if you're really there, it still looks.
Yeah, they're like
seriously everything, and I haven't seen every fucking video of Steven Seagal in action or whatever, if you want to call it that. But it's like I have seen like some stuff even from like his old dojo and stuff like that. For real, it's like if any of you are into Aikido, I'm not poking fun or anything like that, but it does really seem like every single thing is like just him going, eh.
Yeah, well, Aikido,
and the guy like falling down.
Aikido,
that's what it looks like. It looks like no effort.
I'm trying to get a word in here edgewise. Aikido.
Now you know the feeling.
Yeah, I know. This shit, folks, it's like this all the time. Aikido works against people who don't resist it,
or people who know that that they're in an Aikido.
It works against people who don't fight back. From what I see.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, as long as you're kind of polite about it, like, yeah, you got me, okay. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough, I lost. That's what it looks like to me. I don't ever see anybody flipping around going, no, fuck you, you know what I mean? And start fighting and kicking, you know, and like I said, you have to submit to Aikido.
Yeah, and I have watched like a couple of videos by like some actual martial artists.
Yeah.
And they have said the same thing. They're like, we're not saying it's not a martial art. We're just saying
it's
that...
It's not an effective martial art.
Right. It's not effective. Right. And they're like, obviously, a lot of the shit that you see, like, are demonstrations. And those are people that are showing you... It's a demonstration. So they're showing you the technique.
Yeah.
So it's like, they're supposed to be like, hey, this is how this works. It's like if somebody actually fought back with any, like, strident kind of, like, effort, then you would be hosed.
When we were kids, back in the early to mid 80s, even late 80s, there was no internet. So there wasn't any way to check up on anything. And if you had friends when you were in high school who were in martial arts, and we would watch movies, fucking Karate Kids, you weren't really sure what was real and what wasn't real with it, or what was possible. The only printed material we could really get was like Black Belt Magazine. And in those days, and Black Belt Magazine was fucking crazy. You weren't really sure what the fuck.
We talked about that some on the
Black Belt show. Black Belt Magazine would discuss chi balls and knocking people over without touching them, and 1-inch punches and no-touch punches, no-touch fucking knockouts. They're talking about the fucking force.
Yeah.
But there was something about it being in a magazine and them wearing these gis.
It's written down and printed and everything.
And it goes back thousands of years and fucking it's ancient shit. And maybe there's something to it. That was the thinking of the time. Yeah. Of the average person. But little did we know. And little did we know that one day MMA would come. Actually, Ultimate Fighting came first, which was the beginning of MMA. And those dudes wouldn't show up to fight. You know what I mean?
Well, I wonder why. Because they get creamed.
Right. And then you'd had MMA, you know? And these fucking karate people wouldn't show up to fight. And then you just and then some of them you find out they're the guys that are MMA fighters are ex-karate or ex-taekwondo, that they started off in that, and they were kind of going like, nah, that shit doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that was what? Late 80s, early 90s?
Something like that. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I remember when the whole concept, I mean, a lot of people have grown up today with MMA, and it's just like something they take for granted. That, you know, you're fighting and you're punching, you're kicking. There aren't any real rules. You're just fighting until somebody submits, really, you know. There are no boxing gloves or anything. When I was a kid, we would have thought something like that would have been illegal. That the cops would show up.
It was like the kumite for real.
And that's where the idea of the kumite came from. That's what you're talking about in Bloodsport. That there were no rules, to just fight and people get killed and shit. People got killed in boxing, but we didn't think of it like that, you know? Oh, man, people would get killed. Oh, they only do that in other countries. They do that. And that's where the whole kumite thing and Bloodsport came from.
Yeah.
And it was like something that only like the Tongs would do. You know what I'm talking about? Something like that. Well, shit, that's just MMA. You could see that on fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah.
You know?
Nowadays.
So, it's kind of, if you were to tell me, you know, as a kid, hey, man, in 2020, the idea of the kumite and fighting, and it's going to be MMA, and it's just going to be commonplace, I would have thought you were fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, in some ways, though, I
would have been like, man, that's like some shit out of Running Man. Remember Running Man shit, you know? With
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. They'll never do that. That's illegal.
Nope.
No, they
Turns out, not so much.
Right. Well, as soon as that shit started to come into fruition, you know, you slowly started seeing ideas like the kumite and fucking taekwondo and ninjas and all that shit. That all starts to evaporate.
Well, yeah, you slowly saw, like, the bullshitty aspects of martial arts. They all disappeared like Homer into the hedge. You know what I mean? Just like that famous gif. And it's like, but that's good, though. Yeah. But I feel like Steven Seagal never got that memo. Because he
was in fucking the old school where you could bullshit.
That's what I mean. But he's still, like, out there saying that he was a CIA operative. Yeah. He trained the CIA, and he was, like, fucking Navy SEAL and all this other kind of crap. And like I said, you know, he's not one of the ones that he's like, he wasn't even like a real martial artist or anything like that. He was, and he was in like some successful movies, but
just most of martial arts weren't real.
Yeah, and it was in a martial art that is not that effective in, you know, fighting or in competition. Right. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the closest thing to MMA they had when I was a little kid were rumors of something that evidently existed a long time ago when I was a kid. The Black Dragon Fighting Society, which that's Count Dante from the back of the damn comic books. Okay, and that was a real dude.
Those are like the best ads. Yeah,
one day we gotta do a show about fucking Count Dante.
Well, we talked about him on the Bullshit.
Yeah, we talked about it on Bullshit. He actually was for real. It was kind of like he was also fucking crazy.
Yeah, he was a crazy.
He was fucking crazy, but it was like Count Dante,
but in kind of an awesome way.
Yeah, he was a pioneer, really.
Yeah.
What he was doing is what Bruce Lee was talking about.
Yeah.
That's what Bruce Lee was talking about, and he was doing it. So, whatever.
It's just, you know, I don't know. It's just kind of like I said, the thing about Steven Seagal that bothers me is that he doesn't, he's not like on board. He seems like completely not like self-aware. He's not aware of anything. He
does have 7 superpowers, though, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that, like, even Chuck Norris... Because you know how they had the whole thing, like, if he was, like, Chuck Norris facts and all that other kind of shit? Now, I will say that Chuck Norris initially was really a douche about that and, like, tried to sue the guy that, like, wrote that book. But over the years, I guess since it was so successful, he has kind of, like, grudgingly, like, accepted it. So he's a little humorless, too.
Yeah.
But not to the same extent that Seagal is.
Chuck's a little weird, especially as he got older.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't want anybody...
He's always been kind of weird, but...
He doesn't want anybody cussing in his movies. That's kind of some crazy
Yeah, he's
shit.
gone, like, super, like, fundamentalist. Yeah. Really.
And that's just really not fucking meshing too well with entertainment. You know?
Well, yeah, there's a reason why There's a reason why Christian entertainment and regular entertainment are two different things. It's just no offense. It's just...
There's only one fucking Christian movie that I saw that I liked.
Which one was that?
That was the one about the dude who's capturing people and dragging them back to his house and telling his kids that they're demons that they have to kill them.
Oh, Frailty.
Frailty, is that what it's called? And then in the end, it turns out that they are demons.
Yeah, it's like I guess you could see that as a Christian movie, but yeah, it's like that's a good movie.
Yeah,
that's a good movie.
But
it didn't really bill itself as that.
That's what it was, though.
It was, yeah. It was. But but it was also a good movie. It was well written. It was well acted.
That's how you write a Christian movie.
Yeah, it's like don't do this weird shit where you're trying to like shoehorn some kind of like fucking shit in there. They just kind of presented it like a straight horror movie without like overtly trying to.
If I were to make a fucking Christian, Noah was a Christian movie, and a Jewish movie. That was done right.
Also good. Darren Aronofsky.
See that movie? That's a fucking. That is what they're talking about in the Apocrypha and fucking shit like. That's
what I mean. It's like it's really cool that he made a movie. I mean,
it's verbatim.
As far as I know, he's an atheist, but so I just thought it was cool that he made it. He's like, well, this is exactly what it says, so I'm just gonna adapt it.
He respected the source material.
Yeah,
and some Christians don't realize that there are extra canonical texts about Genesis that are not in the book of Genesis, the apocryphal text. And a lot of that is in there, too. And some of that stuff came from Jubilees, I think, too.
Yeah.
Which they're not in the Christian version of the Old Testament. They had some other stuff that was extra canonical, But still, from that same time. But it was respectful to the source material, and it was like something out of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I would love to make a Christian movie. My Christian movie would be called Revelations. And I would use CG to actually just tell the fucking book of Revelation.
That'd be trippy.
And it would be right out of the fucking book.
Just exactly like
Exactly.
Exactly.
And with CG and fucking
the craziest shit.
Craziest shit ever. And I would say drop acid before seeing this shit. I would have fucking old texts and tomes going across and it'd be semi-narrated and it would show you stuff.
That.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
You'd be like, fuck. It'd just be mind-blowing, Because CG, you could do that now.
Well, yeah, you could do all that
I'd have
shit.
wormwood fucking splashing down and fucking 1/3 of the fish dying and 1/3 of the boats doing this and that. And I'd have him making the beast talk and move. I'd have all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just have my own spin on it, but I'd have it, and it would be stylish. It would look like, something Roman.
That could work. I'm surprised no one's ever.
It would look like
done
first century Rome.
Instead of it just seems like nowadays, it's like every now and then we'd see like trailers for like some of the Christian movies and stuff like that, and they just all look so like formulaic and cheesy, and Kirk Cameron's probably in it, and it's kind of like, man, I don't want to watch that shit. And it's like, and if you guys don't know, there's a fucking podcast called God Awful Movies, and it's not for the easily offended, I will tell you that right now, but it's 3 guys, and they basically, it comes out every week, and they review
Christian movies,
Christian movies, and they're long. It's like they'll sit there and like go through the whole fucking movie and like talk about every scene and stuff like that.
It is fun. It's funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, Christians are not known for making good movies.
Yeah, it's sad. I have this really funny book called Rapture Ready, where this guy, he's like a journalist or something like that, and he kind of went into like the Christian, I guess you want to call it the Christian ghetto or whatever, where because they have their own like entertainment. It's not just movies, but it's like here in Orlando we have that theme park. What the fuck's it called? Holy Land.
Yeah, it's cheesy.
And and he's like, so he went there, and it's like, so he was talking about like all their TV shows and their music and stuff like that, and how weird it was. Like it was like this weird separate like subculture, and like why that was and stuff. It's a funny book too, but it's like it's also kind of like really.
You know what else is a Christian movie? The Exorcist. When you think about it, that's a Christian movie.
Yeah, you could call it that.
That's probably the greatest Christian movie of all time.
And I think a lot of Catholics were into it at the time because they're like, yeah, man, fight the devil.
So you can.
It is possible.
It is possible to make a badass Christian movie.
Because The Exorcist is one of the best movies ever.
Yeah, and I like Last Temptation of Christ, and Christians at the time were protesting the movie, but I liked it.
I liked it too.
Because there were certain things that were not like it, but. Anyway, we got to get back to Seagal. All right.
Another thing I wanted to say about Seagal's too is that who was it that I think Rob Schneider told this story, but he was talking about. He said he heard it from a friend of his who was a writer, And he's like, this writer was either working on Under Siege 2 or a supposed like Under Siege 3, which I guess never came out. And he's like, so he's on the set and he goes in to talk to Seagal, and he's like, Seagal is in this like big, like a mobile home, but he's like, he had one of those big, like super fancy ones, like with all the pop outs and shit. So he goes in there to talk to him, and he's like, so Seagal comes out and he's like, kind of like wiping a tear from his eye or some shit like that. And he's like, I just read the best screenplay like ever written or something like that. And the writer's like, really? Who wrote it? I did. Right? And I was just kind of like completely like non-ironically, like he was not trying to be funny or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. He's just like completely clueless. Yeah. And this is why. And I've read like some shit, people that like did makeup on like some of the cheap ass movies that he did, because he's done like a zillion movies. Like like I think in 2016 he made like 7 fucking movies.
Yeah.
But like you said, he's only in them for like 5 minutes each.
Yeah. He's a producer, really.
Yeah, so it's not really that big a deal. But I've heard from some people that like worked on some of the movies that he shot in like Romania and shit like that, and they're just like, he is just the most insufferable person to be around because he's just difficult. It's like he thinks he knows everything. It's like he has no sense of humor. He just like thinks everyone is beneath him for some reason, and he thinks he's just better and he knows better, and he just goes around. It's like he says shit like, and this is going back several years, but he says shit like, oh, he wants to be known for like doing cool shit and like not just as a sex symbol. I'm like, does anybody
that's
really?
Right, I remember that one.
I'm like, does anybody
He's a
really
sex
think
symbol.
of
I
him
didn't
as
know
a
that.
sex symbol?
He's a sex symbol.
Even back in the day, was he really a sex symbol?
Yeah.
Maybe for a year or two.
Well, I tell you what, we saw one. It was from 2016. It was on Netflix. It was called Sniper Special Ops. And everybody else is doing all the acting, and he's got about 10-15 minutes in the movie.
Yeah, it's if that.
Yeah. It actually didn't look that bad. A lot of people really were doing a good job in the movie. It's just that the scope of the movie was really small. They could only shoot it in that one. Yeah, you could
tell it was low budget.
Yeah, they could only shoot it in that one little location. And I would say Seagal made the movie happen. Without his money, it never would have happened. But Seagal was actually kind of the worst. I hate to say this, Steve. You were actually kind of the worst thing in the movie. But you had to be in the movie, or they wouldn't have bought the movie and put it up in there. So I understand what the deal is.
He basically, all he does in the movie is talk. Sits
and talks.
Occasionally snipes somebody and mumbles.
Yeah, and mumbles a little bit and then man.
Anytime.
And then here's the deal. I knew it's fucking time for Seagal to hang it up when he needed a stunt double to walk down the stairs for him.
And that's what I said this on the Sidetrack show, but I'll say it again for people that aren't watching those. I was making a joke. There was a scene of like him supposedly walking down the stairs, like just walking downstairs, not running, not like fucking doing anything acrobatic, just walking down the stairs like a normal person. And I made a joke because, MST, so I'm used to doing that. So I was just kind of like, oh, he had a stunt double to do that. But then I was like, oh wait, that is a stunt double. Yeah. That's not him. It's not him.
And really, what's fucked up is that he's aged, but he's not an old guy. And in the face, he doesn't look that bad. He's overweight. He needs to lose some weight. Look at Stallone. Stallone is like Methuselah. As old as that guy is. He's 70. He got to be 74, 75. Yeah. Stallone looks great. You know what I mean? Of course, Stallone isn't natural. He's enhanced, but he didn't have a choice. You know what I'm talking about? If you want to look like that at that age with the life that you have,
I mean, you're going to get old. We're not shitting on somebody for getting old because everyone does. And
there's a lot of new shit out there fucking in terms of pharmaceuticals, and technology's gotten a lot better, fucking when it comes to certain things that guys can take. It looks like with the right stuff and the right willpower, if you're in that gym working out and you can maybe get like a facelift, you can keep the action fucking thing going for quite a bit. For quite a long time.
Well, yeah, look at the
Stallone in his late 60s, early 70s, he looked great. Just look at Bullet to the Head. He had to be in his late 60s. Yeah. He looked great. Rambo First Blood, his face looked a little bit distorted, but he fixed it later. Body-wise, he looked great. You could say, well, man, he looked kind of old. Yeah, he is old.
Yeah, he's old.
But if you were to put Stallone next to the random motherfucker at 72, 73, there's no comparison.
Well, yeah.
No comparison.
He doesn't look like the average 72-year-old man.
That motherfucker's built. And he's
all hunched over with his pants up under his nipples and stuff.
Yeah, Stallone's
They
looking...
think of like an old guy,
and he's got a young wife and kids and everything, and he's an intelligent dude. And they say that when Stallone walks into a fucking bar with all these big fucking muscle men and gym rats and shit like that he walks in like the alpha male. And he's not a big guy. He's maybe 5'8", 5'9", all right?
Yeah, just average.
But they evidently, everybody fucking loves Stallone.
But because he seems like a cool dude.
Yeah. Evidently, he's just cool
Seagal
as shit.
does not seem like a cool dude. He seems
now
like
you
a
want to
douche.
diss on him. Okay.
I'm just saying, he comes across like a douche. And every single person that I've heard talking about, like even Howard Stern loved to bag on the dude.
Yeah.
He's fun to bag on just because he's so self-important.
Yeah.
And that makes him
kind of like
really
the way
douchey.
Glenn Danzig.
Yeah, it makes you really douchey, and it leaves you really open for that kind of chicanery where people are going to make fun of you because you obviously think a lot of yourself.
And I
unjustifiably.
love Glenn Danzig's music and shit. You know what I mean? I never met the guy, but a lot of people bag on Danzig because you know what I mean. He's very fucking
for the same reason.
He doesn't have a sense of humor. He seems to be very touchy. Very similar to Steven Seagal in terms of fucking attitude. You know what I mean? Fucking
those are hard.
Can't relax.
Yeah, those are very difficult people to be around. And and I think Seagal has the problem too of like thinking that he's better than everyone and or at least projecting that to other people. Where he thinks he knows best, he knows how to do everything, and he has to tell everybody how to do stuff because nobody else knows how to do shit but him. Because he's obviously like, I'm a CIA operative and a Navy SEAL and like the Aikido master and I can do everything and blah, blah, blah. So he thinks he's just like the best at everything and he has to tell everyone else.
It makes me wonder if he was trying to compete with his peers of that day back then. Because you had Frank Dux doing that, and he was getting success. You had a lot of people that were lying back then.
Well, yeah. Can't get away with it now.
And he talked his way into Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay. And then told a bunch of stories, and they made movies about him. So it could be that he felt he had to do the same thing.
And now he's like stuck.
And now he's stuck. Forever. He can't talk his way out of that.
Now he can't just go.
He's
just
not.
I'm not really a douche.
Yeah, he didn't have the. He didn't have the kind of flexible personality where you go, oh no, that's what we used to do back then.
Yeah, we were all bullshitting.
We were bullshitting back then. You know, it was just we were making movies.
I don't have a problem with some good bullshit, but if somebody calls you on it, then just be like, yeah, you got me.
Yeah. Well,
just make a joke about it.
Yeah, it should have been like back in those days. We had to do that. We were making movies.
Yeah, that's
it was show business.
Doing that, man.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Which
and just be funny about it. It's like he would be like a lot more respected.
Yeah,
if he had done
that's all. That's his way out, and he's a little out of style now. He should have been talking that way in the late 90s.
Yeah, it's probably too late.
It's a little bit too late. He's been trying to maintain it for too long. Everybody else is going, oh yeah, we used to bullshit a lot back then.
Yeah, which, like I said, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with bullshitting per se.
Yeah.
As long as you're not like taking that shit seriously and like punching people over it because they're like laughing at you, like saying something ridiculous.
He did a lot of talk shows, though, you know what I mean? The talk shows kind of, people asked him questions on talk shows, you know what I mean? Like on fucking, shit, I don't remember which one it was, but, and yeah, he would try to, he would say, oh, yeah. You could see him yourself.
He walked off some shows because somebody asked him, like...
They would ask him difficult questions he really couldn't answer because
and he
they knew he was bullshitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. It's like,
he couldn't get us out of it.
Yeah, if you can't, like, deal with that kind of shit, then people are gonna, like,
you gotta learn how to play that game, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's really not good at that.
In martial arts, we do this.
He's just not, he's not a likable person.
Right, yeah.
Like I said, Stallone is a likable guy. Like, a lot of those action stars, if you see them, like, you see interviews with them and stuff like that, they seem like likable dudes. They seem like regular dudes.
There's a big difference between Seagal and Stallone. Stallone started as an actor.
True.
He never made claims of being really a pro boxer or to be really a
which is good because you shouldn't, because that's not what he was.
You're right.
He was just like a jack
He was always
dude
an actor.
That was an actor and a writer.
And
that's all he ever claimed to be.
Right. So, very different. Seagal got into the fucking movie gig by saying, no, I'm an Aikido master, because he was.
Yeah, and that is true. He is.
But then he has to fucking pile on top of that, I'm also worked for this. I also fucking. He said he did. He was a consultant
for the CIA. Like he trained them
for certain CIA operatives.
And his wife at the time said no.
Here's the weird thing. What is a CIA operative? A CIA operative isn't a guy in the CIA. It's a guy who works for an agent. In other words, like somebody who's maybe a criminal who the CIA has recruited to do a certain job. So maybe he talked to a criminal that fucking claimed to have been doing something for a CIA agent.
So that's many
So that's very removed from
sure.
that, what that means. Okay, because that's exactly what he said.
Inflating your resume. You know.
I consulted for a CIA operative. That's very different from an agent.
Yeah.
And consulted. What does fucking consulted mean? Were they at a bar drinking?
Yeah.
And fucking they talked about titties? I mean, what the fuck are they talking about?
That actually sounds
That sounds more
probable.
like what they're talking about.
That sounds probable.
So, and then he goes, oh, and do this and that, and then there you go. I consulted for the CIA
Like I said,
operative.
that's the same kind of shit that, like, people, like, inflate their resumes and stuff,
Right.
except taken to, like, a monstrous extreme.
Right. Now, Dux was even worse. Frank Dux said he was CIA, that he was a CIA agent.
Yeah.
And then he's showing himself with all these NVGs, which means night vision goggles or night vision glass.
Yeah, I remember that picture. I think I put it in the video.
And I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, that's like a PVS-2, and that's a fucking. They were like the kind of night vision we had in the Army that was already obsolete, and they forced us to carry it. And then when we were in the field, we didn't want to put it on the fucking rifle.
Yeah.
Because half the shit didn't work, and the image was not clear. You know what I mean? So that's the last thing a fucking CIA agent would need is a damn night vision scope. That's not what the CIA is about.
Yeah.
The CIA is just mostly about recruiting people that work in companies and trying to steal technology that a company's making, or lying and spinning things and telling the newspaper people who you bribed what to write to put a fucking bad news article in for against an enemy. It's more pussy stuff than that. CIA is not. They always kind of conflate CIA with special operatives, and special forces type guys. What they're talking about is Vietnam era, like Max SOG.
Yeah.
Which is special studies and observation groups. Where they're trying to figure out what the Viet Cong was doing and the NVA was doing. That was another era. They don't do that anymore.
Well,
it's all fucking cyber hacking and shit.
No one gave them the memo, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's all that's nowadays. All that CIA stuff is about manipulating fucking news outfits and fucking hacking and bribing.
Yeah, it's a lot more boring nowadays.
Yeah, it's a lot more boring.
A lot more doing shit like I do. Just sit in front of a screen all day.
Yeah, they're not dealing with because. They're talking about a time where the CIA was kind of like the pinnacle of the intelligence agencies. Now we got like 30 of those.
Yeah.
And the Army has its own, or the military has its own. What the fuck that shit called? It don't matter. But there's a lot of redundancy in the system now. There's military versions of the CIA. But it sounds so much better if you say, well, I'm a CIA
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. That's the thing. It sounds good until you think about it for 5 seconds.
And then there's NSA, and then there's fucking all kinds of shit.
What I was going to say earlier about the shit that when we were watching Sniper Special Ops the other night, and I was making a joke about like that being a stunt double, and then it actually was a stunt double.
It was a stunt double.
Now, I was watching
stunt double to walk down the stairs.
To walk down the stairs. That's literally all the dude was doing, like at a normal pace. So I thought that was very funny. So I was like, I'm not going to sit through a whole like newer Steven Seagal movie because like even that one was like super boring. But I found this guy, this other guy on YouTube who reviews movies. I've seen some other of his reviews too, named Mr. GG. And he watched a couple of the newer, Steven Seagal movies. And apparently, even going back to one, and I think it came out in either 2006 or 2009, I can't remember. Like, I can't remember the name of what it was because all the names of his movies are like the same. But Hard to Kill, Out for a Kill.
Hard to Swallow.
Kill, yeah. That's what I mean. Kill, Dozer. I don't fucking know. So it's like, so they're all like that. So even going back to this movie from 2006, I think it was, there was a shot, and he showed like a screenshot of it. he's like, for real, there's a shot of a dude walking out like onto a balcony, just like walking across the room and across the balcony, and it is clearly not Steven Seagal, even though it's supposed to be him. And then he's like, and then the double turns toward the camera, and you can see his fucking face, and you can see that it's not Steven Seagal. So clearly they did not give a crap. And this is like fucking 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, so he was using doubles back then.
So he was using doubles back then.
He's gonna say, well, no, we didn't plan to have that shot, and I was no longer on the scene. So we recreated it. We needed somebody to go in there and the double.
I'm sure he would have an excuse, because that seems like what he does. Is that that's what because he always comes up with an excuse where if somebody says something like, "Hey, all that Aikido shit like that you do, it's like that looks fake and everything." He's like, "Oh well, the people that I knocked out, it's like, well, they have to fall down, otherwise, like, they would get hurt if they kept standing there." And he always, like, has some excuse for, like, why it looks super lame, like, when he's fighting and stuff. Can we please talk about the pants shitting?
Yeah, it's time to talk about that.
This is a very famous story about Steven Seagal, but it's like, I don't really know how... I mean, it seems like most of the shit that I listen to, like, most of the people knew this story, but I don't know how many of our listeners know this story. So, apparently what happened... This was I don't remember if it was on a movie set or if it was just like on some kind of thing. So here is, what's the dude's name? Gene LaBelle?
Yeah,
Judo Gene LaBelle.
And he's kind of like an old school.
He's one of the founders of like MMA or something like that. He was like one of the ones that was running. He trained Ronda Rousey, did he not?
Did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So he's
I think he even dealt with stuntmen, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's like a big deal, like in the fucking.
And he's evidently like the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah,
he's not a dick
I've
at all.
heard. Yeah, he's not a dick at all. Unlike some other people we can talk about. But yeah, so
and he's a toughie. He was tough even as an old man.
Yeah, he's like an old guy. Yeah, he's an old guy. So he apparently they're talking, and Steven Seagal apparently makes the claim that either because of his Aikido or his special like fucking magic powers or whatever, he has like a technique that means that he can't be choked out.
Yeah, he can Seagal says that if you put him in a headlock or you try to choke him out, he has a way to like tense up.
That he has a way to like...
So you can't fucking choke him out into unconsciousness, that he can keep his blood flow going just by pure
So you make
will.
a claim like that around somebody like Gene LaBelle, and he's like,
okay,
come here. Prove it, but come here.
Yeah.
Now, according to Gene LaBelle and some other people that were there present, what ended up happening is that Gene LaBelle puts Steven Seagal in a headlock.
Yeah. Or some kind of chokehold.
Or some kind of chokehold. I think it was a
headlock.
naked chokehold or something like whatever they call it, like in judo. Because I think that's Gene LaBelle's thing is judo, is it not?
Yeah.
So he puts him in the chokehold. Steven Seagal then starts struggling for breath. Then tries to punch Gene LaBelle in the nuts, which is kind of, low blow.
Trying to do that.
And then he passes out. Like
in the old sisters.
Yeah. Because Gene LaBelle won't say nuts or balls or anything. He just says in the two sisters or the old sisters or whatever.
In the sisters.
Yeah, that's what he said. So yeah, and which is kind of cheating, like I said. So, but he's still doing the chokehold. Steven Seagal apparently passes out, goes unconscious, and then shits his pants.
Evidently, he fucking slid out. That's the story.
Well, now, and somebody else...
There's no proof.
I heard somebody else that said they were there. Like, Gene LaBelle says that, too. And he said, like, well, if somebody... And Gene LaBelle is so funny because he was just kind of like... He wasn't like laughing at Steven Seagal, really. But he was just saying, man, I did that. And it's like, if you ate a big meal beforehand, it's like, so, that kind of shit that can happen. You know what I mean? He wouldn't say shit because he doesn't swear. But you know what I mean? It's like, so he just said, so he wasn't like laughing at him necessarily. But he was just trying to be nice about it. But that made it even funnier that he was trying to be nice about it. And now somebody else that was supposedly there said that he's like, so he's like, so Steven Seagal just kind of goes unconscious, and he's like, all of a sudden you just hear,
they probably smelled that shit too.
And and that's what they said. They said he went out, and then like he came back and it was just like smelled like shit really bad. Now, obviously, like Steven Seagal denies that this happened. He called Gene LaBelle a scumbag, liar, all this other kind of stuff. So I wasn't there. I don't know if he really shit his pants or not, but I don't know. Like,
I
a lot of people.
All this shit fascinating, man.
It is fascinating.
I find all this
now,
shit
another funny thing too is that, like I said, when Steven Seagal came out calling Jean LaBelle a scumbag, Ronda Rousey came back, and she does not like it because Jean LaBelle trained her, and she does not like people like shitting on Jean. Yeah. So she just said, why don't you like have Steven Seagal come over here? I'll make him crap his pants again. So I was like, I would fucking pay to see that shit. Damn. That would be fucking hilarious. But yeah, so I don't know. There's just like, that is probably the most famous story about Steven Seagal nowadays, that he shit his pants when Jean LaBelle like choked him out and stuff like that.
Allegedly.
That's all this stuff is alleged.
It's all alleged. Yeah.
It just seems like, okay, so do you want to do more funny stuff before we get into the dark shit, or what?
Yeah. This is pretty good.
Well, because like I said, I looked up during the break. This is why this is on over here. This computer's on over here, because I found like some there were some articles on Cracked there was one that was called Steven Seagal Man Myth Lunatic, also one that was called 7 Superpowers that Steven Seagal thinks he has, and one about I read Steven Seagal's insane novel, so you don't have to.
Okay, yes.
That was Sean Baby. But yeah, so I'm laughing at this one. I think this was Luis Prada who wrote this one, Man Myth Lunatic. There was like some really funny fucking shit in here. Like the first paragraph of this says, if Steven Seagal were as good at fighting as he is at being physically incapable of backing up even 1% of his claims, we would all be wearing the illustrious Lord Seagal's mandatory plus-size kimonos. Yeah. Which reminds me that when he went to the Oscars, this must have been a long time ago, because why would he be invited to the Oscars nowadays? Yeah. But apparently, well, I mean, because, he's a large man, so he had to have the tuxedo, like, made, and he wanted to make it super baggy so he could, like, go to the Oscars packing, because apparently he's, like, super paranoid and thinks people are after him. However, it should be noted that allegedly, everything in this is allegedly, okay? Right. Allegedly, he owed a bunch of money to the mob for some fucking, like, he borrowed money from the mafia, like, for making
maybe to get the hookers,
or for doing something. I don't know why he borrowed the money. Slaves, yeah. And apparently, like, they kind of wanted to kill him because he hadn't paid them off, and he was like shaking in his boots, and he actually gave them like $750,000 or $500,000. He gave them like some big amount because apparently he owed them some money. Yeah. So there was mafia involvement allegedly. There was also the thing where he got in trouble with the SEC because I don't really understand how this works, but apparently he was plugging some like fucking Bitcoin site, but they gave him a bunch of money to plug it, and he didn't disclose that. And apparently you have to do that.
You're right.
That if you're a celebrity or you're endorsing like a particular product or a security or something like that, you have to tell them that. You have to tell people that they gave you money to do that, and he didn't do that. So he got fined like a whole bunch of money for doing that. So he's been in trouble with the law like a few times and stuff. And I think like that whole mafia case, I think he actually did testify at a trial, because I read an excerpt from a book that the judge in that trial wrote. He wasn't like, the one that was in trouble necessarily, but it was like one of the mobsters like trials. Like he had to like...
He had to be a witness.
He had to be a witness at it, yeah. So, some of the other funny shit that was on here was like, they call him the man with the fighting style of a convulsing marionette trying to brush cracker crumbs off the face of a second convulsing marionette.
What did he see? What
Which I thought was just fun, like his fighting style that we're talking about. And then, at first glance, I couldn't tell you Seagal's ethnicity, but he looks like the kind of guy who's been banned from a local Denny's. He claims to be Italian when the only Italian in him are the flecks of salami clinging to his goatee. He also has a history of telling people he's Asian. I bet whenever he wants to give friends a sampling of his traditional culture, he takes them to Panda Express, since he's basically a living version of Panda Express's disdain for the food they serve.
So if he
ever killed someone, I'm sure he'd flee to a Benihana, thinking it gave him the same immunity as a Japanese embassy.
So he actually claimed being Asian.
Yeah, he has.
Okay.
Yeah, he's claimed being all kind of different races.
Because I've heard him talk in the past, and he was doing like a Chinese or a Japanese.
That's what accent. I mean. I don't even know what his real voice sounds. He probably doesn't even know at this point. I've heard him talk like a black person. I've heard him talk like a Brooklynite. I've heard him talk like a Creole kind of. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know.
He's a man of mystery.
That's what I mean. That's why I called the show The Enduring Enigma, because he's just like he fascinates. Like I kind of can't stand him, but like he's also really interesting because he's just the kind of people that are this like out there and they don't realize
tend to be crazy, like pathological liars.
Yeah, and it's like and it freaks me out like that he's really that clueless about.
Maybe he just thinks. Maybe he's not really thinking much about it. He goes on a show.
Maybe not.
And he just kind of changes his persona for that one show.
And maybe he's not thinking about how other people are going to perceive it.
And there's really kind of like no continuity into what he's doing. And it's just because he tried. Maybe whatever situation you put him in, he plays to that audience, to that room, not realizing that it's recorded. Not thinking it through, that it's recorded and will be
and also not realizing that it's really obvious that he's doing that and everyone just thinks it's super weird.
Yeah, and then he thinks he's fooling people.
Yeah, it's like, that's why he's fascinating.
He may fool a lot of people. I mean, he does have fans. I once fucking said some sideways shit about him on a video on YouTube, and I had like 5 guys jump on me.
You shut up about this.
Yeah, and it was about I said
they were probably 12 years old.
And it was about him talking like he was Japanese or that he pretended to be Asian, and they swore up and down that wasn't true. And when you said he claimed to be Asian, I was like, I was right.
Yeah, he's not.
Because I just remember him talking like that. I didn't know that he actually
stretch
claimed.
The imagination.
I don't remember. I didn't realize that he had claimed.
He goes around wearing the fucking. It's okay.
Yeah, he's wearing Oriental clothing and shit. Sometimes
like he's wearing like kimonos and
I remember he used to have a little ponytail.
He did for a long time. Yeah,
it was his little thing.
Does he still have that? No, I guess not.
No.
Wait, now in the movie
he tried to have a little Chinese ponytail.
In the movie we saw that was from 2006, did he have a ponytail? I said he had like a weird do-rag type of thing going on. I don't know what that was all about.
He's supposed to be dressed like an army guy. What's so funny is he's like 60-something, but he's kind of showing himself on active duty. They never really did right. It said special ops, but everybody in there would be a little too old to be in special forces.
Plus, everybody had a mullet and copious facial hair, which I don't think that would be allowed.
For certain circumstances, but not
if you were undercover. But they were not. They had
there were certain times.
On.
There were certain times in Afghanistan where they wanted to look like a local, but I think they might have kind of dropped that because. It's obvious that they weren't locals.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you're not fooling.
So I don't know exactly what they were doing. You know, during the time that I was in, they wore beards, but it was mostly so you couldn't recognize them, and that was in that fucking. And I think that was only in the context of certain missions.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were like. You know, fucking normally. I just saw photographs of them. You know what I mean? Like in Gulf War One.
Yeah.
Running around in the damn dune buggies and shit that they had, and they had beards. But I don't know if they were wearing those beards when they were fucking back at whatever the fort they were at.
That's what I'm saying.
Or living out of their house. I don't know if they had beards or not, or if they grew the beards while they were in the field.
It just seemed very strange. Like, even seeing this movie, I was just like, I don't really know if this was supposed to be a realistic operation. Like, if that would be allowed. If that's what they would look like.
SF and Delta.
Plus, the uniforms are not right. You said.
Yeah, they weren't right. And Delta is a part of SF. Delta was kind of sketchy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not even supposed to exist. So when they're doing shit, you know what I mean? They're not wearing uniforms. They're not really. And they would just kind of vanish and go back. They did a lot of shit in the island of Grenada and. Breaking people out of prison, and they're good at that kind of stuff, you know. Get somebody out of prison from another country. That's some weird shit when you think about it, you know. But they were doing that kind of stuff.
It's like that shit locked up abroad.
And here's a weird thing. Well, they're getting somebody out of prison who's valuable to them, and there's also kind of a war going on at the time. They were attacking the island at the time. But here's the deal: is like some of the shit they would do, kind of technically be illegal. You know, because they're doing an operation that's kind of like war, but no war has been declared. Which, if they were caught, they'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Imagine they probably could get them out, but maybe not. It's hard to say. They always did kind of sketchy shit, but Seagal doesn't know anything about that, and that movie that they made, that's not it. That's not the real thing.
Well, even me, who doesn't know like a great deal about that kind of shit, I was just kind of like, this just looks like a bunch of cosplayers.
Yeah, it's exactly
and
what
not
it
particularly
was.
good
That's
ones.
what it was.
And
they were too old to be in theater doing what they were doing. I mean, you saw Seagal fucking lean down and grab that wounded dude and try to drag him, and you could obviously see he went. Ugh, ugh. Yeah. I mean, just think if you were in a unit of guys and you were out in the open and somebody with a machine gun opened up on you at fucking 100 yards and everybody had to scatter and run, right? Would Seagal be able to fucking make it out of that fucking kill zone? No, he'd be fucking gunned down. You couldn't depend on him.
In one,
you have to be mobile.
in one of the in the same article where Sean Baby said that he ran like a penguin was kidding.
Yeah.
He also said nowadays you could outdistance him in an elevator.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Which, it's terrible, but it's like I said, the reason people pick on him is just because he's so because he's still going around like acting like this big tough badass when that's obviously not what he is, and he doesn't like have a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
Also, this is also alleged, now that we're going back to the mob stuff, allegedly, he asked a hitman, he paid a hitman $50,000 or $500,000 to have somebody whacked. Maybe 2 times. One of them was a journalist that picked on him and said some shit about him that he didn't like, which that's mature. And the other one, I can't remember who the other one was. He has a real problem with like
what does he care what a journalist says about him?
Well, that's what I mean. He has a real problem with like, right. I think Vanity Fair like did kind of a article about him like several years ago. And he got really pissed off about that. It might have been that guy that he wanted killed. But it's just he also has a real problem with women journalists and with women that interview him, because he says that's like the main problem, and he calls them like a bunch of fucking whores. I think that's a direct quote, so that's nice.
Damn.
But yeah, so he's not real, and you can tell this from like his fucking novel, which I don't know how much of it he wrote. It's like Tell
us about the novel.
It's him. It's like this crazy thing where it's fiction, but it's supposedly based on real, and it's just this crazy like conspiracy theory everything. It's called The Shadow Wolves and like The Deep State and all this other kind of crap. And then like he is writing himself as the main character. The main character isn't Steven Seagal. He has a different name. It's like John Mantangoed or something like that. And he's like a Native American, of course, and he's like a magical Native American.
His name's Rainbird.
Yeah, it might as well
Thunderbird.
It might as well be. And he can just like do everything, and like he has like all these magical Native American powers where he just like has fucking, and they're like there's like all these fucking, what's it even about? I don't even know. It's like the writing is like really bad. And it's just kind of like, he didn't write it. Like he had this other guy named Tom Morrissey. He's like this, who's like this 80-year-old weirdo. And they wrote it together. But it's just kind of like, it was something to do with like fucking Islamic terrorists coming over the Mexican border, working with the drug cartels, some shit like that.
That's old.
And yeah, and it was like that.
Sounds like he's trying to make a Tom Clancy novel with him in it, kind of.
Yeah, but it's like different. Yeah, and like I said, the main character in it is clearly supposed to be him, and it's like, again, it's just kind of like the characters in his movies where he knows how to do everything. He has like fucking magical psychic powers, like. He has all these special... Like, he even says this shit, like, on his fucking reality show. Like, he'll say shit like, well, I've been doing martial arts for so many decades, so I know, like, the way...
what you're thinking.
Yeah, he's essentially says that he knows, like, what... So he drives through neighborhoods, and he's like, he can just tell when someone's going to do crime, because it's, like, the way they're standing, or the way they turn their head, or something like that. Like, he thinks that he knows how people are gonna like commit a crime, and he just knows for some reason, even though apparently I haven't seen like a lot of the shows. I've just seen clips from it. I'm not gonna sit through 3 seasons of that shit.
Yeah.
But it just seems like most.
Now you got me interested.
I mean, the real cops. I'm sure you could probably see it on YouTube. Yeah. I would imagine. I think it was on A&E, like I said, for the first 2 seasons. Maybe it got suspended, like because of all the fucking when he was in all that legal trouble.
Right.
But then it came back for a 3rd one, and then like I said, there was another show too called True Justice. That I think that might have premiered on some channel in Spain, and then like it showed in Europe, and then I think it showed over here, maybe like on one of the weird cable channels, and now they're like putting them out. Like they did like some old shit like they used to do with those crappy shows in the 70s, where like they would take like 2 episodes and like mash them together and like make a movie, quote unquote, out of it. Yeah. Like they did with like fucking Gemini Man and all that.
Yeah.
I think they're doing that. So I haven't seen those.
Gemini Man, what's that?
That was like it was this horrible 70s show that like about this guy that could make himself invisible. They did they did it on MST. But yeah, it was bad.
Now you got me interested, man, because that maybe I should.
It's like, well, it really does seem like I said, not only is he like really super condescending, and he's just like telling people. There's this one great fucking clip where he's the actual cop is like driving the patrol car, and Steve's in like the passenger seat or whatever, and he's like a total like backseat. Well, I guess like a front seat driver. He's just kind of like just to the right, and the cop totally says, "Steve, let me drive." So it's like I wonder if like some of these cops are like, Jesus Christ, it's like we're trying to do our fucking job, and like here's this douche like fucking thinking he knows everything and like telling us what to do. Like,
damn. Makes you want to see this shit now, but is it entertaining? I wonder if it's
I've heard that it is some of the funniest shit ever.
Damn.
Well, just because, like I said, he's... I mean, this is like this isn't like fucking, downtown Chicago or anything like that. It's not like it's a tiny little parish in Louisiana. It's like really, there's like, they break up a couple fights in a parking lot. It's like, it's nothing like, it's no serial killers.
Does Seagal give words of wisdom and shit after the breakup?
Yeah, he does, yeah. And that's what I mean. So like, he'll like turn toward the camera and like say... like I said, he thinks he knows everything.
I gotta see this shit.
And that his martial arts training has given him magical powers, and he has
some of that shit
insight into
some of that shit
that none of us mortals have, evidently.
Some of that shit might fucking bring back certain nostalgia within me.
You would probably love it.
Where it takes me back to the 80s of playing like fucking...
We're gonna have to watch this.
Playing like Street Fighter games and fucking
I kind of want to watch
karate games, you know what I mean? And fucking Ninja Gym and shit. And I'm listening to this dude tell me how his chi can detect fucking crime. I'd like to see that.
I'm kind of like,
I'd like to see that.
Like I said, I've seen clips of it.
The only thing that worries me, all right? The only thing that worries me is that I try to avoid boredom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And a lot of the later Seagal stuff is just boring. It's not...
that sniper movie, that was like, we couldn't even sit there.
Yeah. I had to fast forward through most of it and wherever he was. And there was some shit that I watched. It's just boring.
Yeah.
That's the problem with it. It wasn't terrible. It just was boring.
I mean, it was competently
shot. There wasn't anything there. And it's like, you can obviously tell that the movies were made for a Steven Seagal fan.
Yeah.
Somebody who's into the Steven Seagal universe.
You would have to be.
That's the only way.
I don't know who
Other
else
than that, it was just kind of like a competently made short, stretched out to about an hour and 15, 20 minutes. And it was almost kind of like fan-made is what it felt like. It didn't really feel like...
I've seen better fan-made movies than that were, but it just seemed like not much was going on.
Not much was going on. Mostly talking.
It just seemed like mostly just sitting around and every now and then sniping somebody.
And you can't really compare that to what his original material that made him famous, what that was like.
Well, some of those were actually decent action movies.
They were, his first 5 or 6 movies actually were fun. They were very entertaining. I would say the best one would be Under Siege, and I think everyone agrees that Under Siege is the best one.
Yeah, I don't think you get much argument on that.
Kind of like Die Hard, but it's on a battleship.
Yeah.
Not the same level of artistic fucking content, not the same acting content, but competent, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Under Siege 2 was fun to watch. Evidently that bombed, but I liked watching it. It was funny. It was fun. Very similar to Under Siege 1. Hard to Kill was good. He comes up out of a coma and fucking wreaks revenge and shit.
Yeah.
The other one, what was the one with he was the cop with the beret? I thought that was cheesy. It was kind of like a fake Lethal Weapon. Not quite as good. I forgot what that one was called. Out for Justice. I think it was called Out for Justice. It had a couple good scenes in it. Just not really my thing. But really, that's what his career was built on. Was really that was kind
of it.
Now,
And those were decent movies. They were entertaining.
Evidently, the beginning of the bad movies was the ones where he is becoming fucking. He's up on in a damn oil rig, and he's fucking
on deadly ground.
On deadly ground.
That was his directorial debut.
That evidently was,
and that was the start of the decline.
That was evidently the beginning.
Because that was
I want to see that one though.
That was when he had completely vanished up his own butthole.
Yeah,
and he was kind of like, I'm all for environmentalism, fine. But it's like, one, the stupid thing...
He don't give a shit about
He doesn't give a shit about the environment, for sure.
Right.
Because, look, On Deadly Ground, he's all, like, has this fucking 4 or 5 minute speech about how we have to, like, save the Earth and everything.
I want to see that
which,
shit.
yeah, that's good. But then, in the movie... He blows up an oil rig, like, in the ocean, right? And I'm like, you just polluted more of the ocean than they would have done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it just seems like everything about him just seems really hypocritical, and he doesn't seem to realize it.
I gotta see that shit.
But yeah, that totally went downhill once he went into, like, this really weird... environment. And like I said, it's like he's all kind of like, animal rights and everything, and then he just like drives a tank through this guy's house, kills a puppy, and then just kills all these chickens, allegedly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He doesn't give a shit
He doesn't give a shit about that. It's like he just gives a shit about like pretending that he's this big, wise Asian man.
He's trying to, he was trying to make
the Dalai Lama. That was another
That's right,
story.
the Dalai Lama.
That was another story. I can't remember who told this one because I watched like this one was clips. There was like Howard Stern. There was Rob Schneider. There was like all these different people, and they were talking about like working with him and like all the stupid shit that he did. And one of them said that he had just been to visit with the Dalai Lama because apparently you can do that.
Yeah, he got made a god.
If you give enough money to the charities or something, you can have like an audience with him or whatever. So he goes there, and apparently the Dalai Lama made him, like a deity.
Made him a deity.
And then
he's walking around feeling special.
Yeah, and he was actually like saying, like in complete and total seriousness, that it's like, in the Dalai Lama in his wisdom has made me like a deity, or whatever the word is. I don't remember what it was. But Rob Schneider might have
basically
told this
it
story
made him a Bosifata. Isn't that the
I don't even remember what the fucking word is. It was like a fucking... I thought it started with a T. It's like a pretty short word. But he made him like some kind of... Like a reincarnated like soul or something like that. And it's like, and the funny thing was, he said, so he's talking all this shit about, now I feel like I really have to do something because he made me like a deity and in his wisdom and blah, blah, blah. And then like, they're like, and then his like fucking publicist or whatever comes in and says, hey, your ex-wife called and, she can't pick up the kids or whatever. You tell that fucking cunt that blah, 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 blah. It was like, so I mean, so it's just like this. I'm like, I believe that. That sounds about right. Because here's the thing, Steven Seagal is really not, this is, there are so many allegations. So I already mentioned the thing where there's clearly a photo of him like groping a 16-year-old's titty. And according to her, he told her that
he was trying to get up in that booty.
I have girlfriends your age, and she's like, yeah, great.
I don't believe that though.
Please get me away from.
He was just trying to talk his way into her.
God, 16, gross. But so there are numerous stories.
He probably checked the laws in that local state. Oh, that's age of consent.
I'm allowed. Yeah. So there are many allegations, like I said, and in case you had any modicum of respect left for this dude. So among the people that have come out like accusing him of various things, Lisa Guerrero, who was a correspondent for Inside Edition for a while, she went to an audition for Fire Down Below, one of Steven Seagal's movies, one of the shitty ones. This was in 1996. She says that she was going there to try out for a role, and when she gets there, like, she thought there would be casting agents, there was no one there.
Him and a damn casting couch.
Yeah, and so all this other kind of stuff. Like I said, Jenny McCarthy was also trying out for Under Siege 2, and he told her, like, hey, get naked. Like, she thought, she goes in the office to, like, audition thinking there would be other people there, which is normally what the situation is.
In his movie.
Yeah, and she was like, yeah, no, thank you, and she left. Rachel Grant, who was in the Bond movie Die Another Day, she said the same thing. She was going to audition for Out for a Kill, which came out in 2003, and he apparently pushed her onto the bed and pulled his pants down.
Damn.
One of them, and actually one woman said that he actually raped her when she was 18 years old.
Damn.
So yeah, and
this
then
is allegedly shit.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff, you
all
know,
just he said, she said.
although he said also that he was in the CIA and that he's a god and all this other stuff. So I don't think I'm gonna believe his shit on anything. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, the way he comes across like such a skeevy douche. And like a lot of this, like I've read like excerpts of his novel. I'm making bunny rabbit ears if you're listening to the audio version, because I don't really want to give it that distinction. Now I don't know how much of Steven Seagal is in the novel or how much of the ghostwriter is in the novel, but like the female characters in this novel,
They all love him.
yeah, and are clearly not like any human woman like that has ever existed on the face of the earth ever. And so him being like a creepy sexual molester is just not a shock to me at all. Allegedly. It's not a shock to me at all because he absolutely seems like that kind of person. And so like, well, he does. It's like he just comes across like that. You know, I'm not saying that he did do those things, but I'm just saying there's a really lot of claims against him and he seems like somebody that would do that type of thing. To me, like he seems that kind of personality. So yeah, there was also Jaime Pressly who also said that he did that whole like, oh, I'm a shiatsu master, and then
That's
like
right.
grabs the boobs.
Yeah, looking for lumps.
Yeah, that's.
Looking for lumps.
I'm like, really? You can think of a better line than that. Oh my god, I would knock his fat ass down so fast if he did that.
I don't think he was fat during that time. I
Even
think he was younger back then.
God damn it. That's some fucked up shit.
I think
the whole
Hollywood
thing
gave him some fucking bad habits. I bet you he was seeing other dudes getting away with all kinds of shit. So he's like, oh, well, I can do it too. I'm Steven Seagal.
Well, I'm just gonna do whatever.
I can do it too. I'm Steven Seagal.
Yeah, don't do that, you guys. I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you
It's
guys,
just fucking funny.
But yeah, and it's like, well, to me, it's not funny, but you know what I mean. There was also the very famous allegation that this one woman who actually brought a $1 million lawsuit against him. Now she was hired on as an executive assistant, and when she started working for him, she discovered, according to her, that he was keeping 2 underage girls in his house that apparently they had to like do whatever he said.
They had to be on call.
Yeah, 24/7. So
For his satisfaction.
whenever he needed his knob slobbered on.
Yeah.
They had to come in and do it.
I didn't know they were underage.
I'm pretty sure they were underage. Well, that's what she was alleging, that they were underage.
They were alleging? All right.
And that apparently, I don't know, that's why the whole thing was sex slave, because apparently she was saying that they couldn't leave, like, I don't know if he had taken their passports or whatever the fuck he had done, but, allegedly.
Right.
But, yeah, so she was trying to sue him for that, and the charges were dropped later on, but she dropped the charges without explaining anything, so I don't know if he threatened her, I don't know if he gave her a big payoff, I don't know what the deal was there, but, there definitely, I mean, there comes a point where, because the shitty thing about, look at like fucking Bill Cosby, right? And it's like, people have been talking about like the allegations against Bill Cosby for like forever, but nobody would really listen. But then it seemed like once it gets to a critical mass, and it's like, how many fucking people have to come forward and say, yes, this dude did these horrible things, before people will listen? How many women was it? 30, 40? It was like a lot.
Whatever
but
happened
people
to
have been
Cosby?
like,
he got convicted, right?
He did, yeah.
How much time did he get?
I don't remember.
So he's locked up.
He's locked up, yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like the same thing, there's a pattern of behavior, and he really does seem to come across like that. And like I said, his one of his ex-wives, Kelly LeBrock, I don't think she came out and said directly that he had physically abused her, but she implied that he had. You know what I mean? Like allegedly. In some of her interviews, she implied that he had also. So I definitely feel like there is probably some shit there, because he just definitely seems like he comes across like that. Because he's very much like, I'm a sex symbol. I'm the best at everything. I'm this and that. All this, but like, calling like, and specifically saying things like, and he's been quoted as saying like, women reporters or women that ask him questions, fucking whores, like saying shit like that. So you do that kind of shit, it really doesn't endear me toward you. And like I said, I've read like the shit in his book, like about all the female characters in the book. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a rapist talking. It does, like allegedly. It sounds like somebody that doesn't see women as people.
Well, this is alleged.
That's what I said.
Yeah, we don't know what the dude
like I
did.
said, everything in this is allegedly.
Yeah.
But there have been so many.
I think he's just kind of a clueless motherfucker who thinks his head got pretty big and he thought he could do whatever he wanted.
That's not good, though.
No, it's not good.
He also, another thing that he claims too, and this is like coming down a little bit from the other shit, but it's like, he also claims that he's the world's foremost expert on Asian swords, and that auction houses come to him to authenticate swords and stuff like that. Which
Don't tell me. It's not true. Don't tell me.
I'm pretty sure that's not true.
All right.
I mean, like I said, all the stuff that he says, I don't even know if people even bother because they think he's probably like so irrelevant now because it's just like he's just like straight to DVD king or whatever, making like fucking however many zillion movies he's made since the early 2000s.
It's not quality, it's quantity. He's just gonna make a bunch of them.
I guess.
I think he's got his own little fan club. So he puts.
He must because he still keeps putting them out.
So he must be making money.
Now I have
I think he's got a fucking big spread that he lives in. And I think he's remarried, huh?
I think he might be on his fourth wife at this point. And he has 7 kids by 4 different women.
Right, and they're all grown, so he's not paying.
Most of them are grown. So, I think all of them are grown.
Yeah, and I think he lives in Russia now, doesn't he?
I believe he did. He has. I don't know if he renounced his U.S. citizenship. But he has Russian citizenship and Serbian citizenship.
Okay.
Although he apparently he's not allowed in some countries like the Ukraine and stuff like that because of his support for the invasion of Crimea, which some people were kind of like upset about. So he's banned from a couple of countries. For being like not a good influence or whatever. So there's some issues there, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know what his deal is. I don't really know. He amuses me in a sense because I see his movies like Shitcase Cinema. He's done like some of his newer ones. Didn't he do that one with, like, wasn't there fucking vampires in it? Am I remembering it wrong?
Yeah, no, he did a vampire movie.
I thought it was vampires, right?
Sensei was walking around with a damn sword and shit. Remember that? And everybody else
he was just basically walking through the whole movie, like, very slowly, as he does nowadays.
Like I said, some of these movies that he comes up with, the premises sound like they could be good. But whoever's writing them, they're just boring.
And I saw, like, I saw this Mr. GG on YouTube, and he reviewed a couple of his newer ones, and he was like pointing it out because I guess he's kind of like, a filmmaker and stuff like that. So he was pointing out like he's like, among the other things of this just being boring and Steven Seagal being hardly in it, and you can't understand what he's saying, and like the plot being nonsensical and everything like that. He's like, also the editing is like really bad, really bad.
If he'd had some talent behind him, writing scripts and editing. Somebody with some imagination, some of that shit could have been pretty good.
Yeah, like some of the ideas were not bad, like behind the movies. It could have been like just a fun. Actually, but that's the thing; they're not fun though.
Right, and you see, at Seagal's age and in the condition that he's in, he really should be making fun movies.
Exactly.
Not ones where he's
supposed to be like a badass, right? Because no one's gonna buy that.
You could be like a funny badass.
Yeah, why don't you do some shit like some of those old like kung fu movies, or like Sammo Hung or something like that, who was like kind of chunky, but he could still do that kind of shit.
Right.
I don't think Steven Seagal can do anything because he can't even like walk down fucking stairs anymore.
I think he can. Apparently, he can walk downstairs.
He just doesn't want to.
He just didn't want to be seen walking down those stairs because he didn't really like. I guess he thinks he's too heavy. But there's an easy solution for that, man. Stop eating. Stop eating that stuff.
Stop eating.
Yeah, he's not, he doesn't look like a little old man in any, but you know what I mean? He could make a movie. He'd have to lose some weight. He really wouldn't have to lose all that much. Maybe 40 pounds would make a big difference on him, probably.
It probably would. Like, I don't have any idea how much he weighs.
He's big, so maybe 40 pounds wouldn't put a dent in him, but, you know what I mean? When you're talking about proportions, he'd only have to lose maybe 1/3 of his size.
I don't know, because like looking at him from the side, it's kind of hard to tell because the sniper movie that we watched, it's like, one, it's weird because he was wearing like what the fuck was that? Was it bulletproof vest or like was it ammo? What the fuck was that? Was it like an ammo belt?
He was wearing a vest.
And that made him look like even more giant.
Yeah, the vest, it was like an LCE, but it was a vest that had fucking, ammo pouches in it.
That's what I was thinking. But that made him look like a lot bigger.
No body armor, though.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that for most of the movie, and from what I understand from like watching reviews of like his other recent movies, it's like they pretty much will not show like a full length of him, like a full length shot of him. It'll just be like close-ups of his face, or he'll just always be sitting down. They don't ever want to show him like walking around or like walking down steps or anything like that. So they always kind of like keep stuff above, even though like everybody knows what he looks like. And it's like, I don't know, like if he's not worried about it, then just produce the movies and don't be in them.
Yeah, don't be in them. And because if you don't like how you look, fucking either lose the weight or don't be in the damn movie. Or go with it.
Or run. Yeah, that's what I mean. Just roll with it. Just like
roll with it and fucking make yourself
make it a fun. Yeah. Make like a fun movie, but he doesn't really seem like psychically capable of doing that because he can't make fun of himself.
I think he's trying to maintain a certain image, and it's unrealistic to
and that image, like he pissed that away like a long time ago.
That was a long time ago that image doesn't work. That a long time ago, that's gone. It's gone now, and nobody from that era has that same image that they used to have. They've all changed.
Yeah, and like I said, everybody gets old. There's no shame in that. No one's picking on him for being old. Yeah. They're picking on him because
he's still kind of trying to be the same.
The way that he's trying to put himself across is obviously not the way he is. And it's I don't know why he doesn't just accept the way he is now if that's what he wants to look like.
Yeah.
And just roll with that. Yeah. If you want to be in movies like that, just make a joke out of it. Or make
and he's not that fat. He's not that fat.
Yeah.
It's just that he's not as skinny as he wants to be. That's the difference.
And the way that
he is not obese.
Yeah.
He's just chunky. He's a little fat, but
it's just like I said, he
could roll with that.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know why he doesn't. It's like I don't know why, cuz look, the whole like fucking Expendables thing. And another thing, by the way, is that he was actually asked to be in that, but he wouldn't be in it because he didn't like one of the producers of the movie or one of the directors of the movie. Yeah. Like he hated him for some reason. So he wouldn't be in it.
He should have jumped at Expendables.
Well, yeah, and that's what everybody said. It's like because they got all the big action stars in it. Yeah. But the cool thing about the Expendables is that it's all these like aging action stars and stuff. Yeah, but they came back and they did this movie because they could like the movie's not laughing at them, but it does. It does. It is like
semi-comedy, though.
It is semi-comedy, and it is like acknowledging that they're all old now.
Yeah.
And they're not trying to be like, oh, I'm 20 years old and like run around. They're not trying to do that. They're acknowledging it and like kind of making a joke, but also making a good action movie. Yeah. And it's like he doesn't really seem capable of going that route, and that's a shame.
You're right.
Because if he could do that, he might actually have a career instead of just going right to the DVD bins.
He might be able to regain relevance.
And turning up on shitcase cinema all the time.
Yeah, the thing is, though, is he's never going to relinquish control over what he's making to somebody else. He doesn't want to work for somebody else.
He definitely does seem like...
He wants to do his own shit.
He definitely does seem like this weird, like, dictatorial type of... this is my little fiefdom, and this is my movie.
I can't trust them. They'll make fun of me.
Yeah, and so I do feel like, so like I said, that's just to me a mark of a very, very insecure person, that he's just kind of like,
he's got a lot of dirt about him out there.
Well, he's done a lot of shitty stuff. It's like you shouldn't have done all that shit. Yeah. If you were that worried about it. It's like don't allegedly beat up your wives. Don't allegedly sexually assault people. Don't allegedly take money from the mob and then get afraid they're going to kill you. Don't allegedly take money from fucking...
Well, it's too late now,
actually,
Jenny.
that's not...
It's too late now.
That's not allegedly, because he actually did get
it's too late now.
That's what I mean, it's probably too late to save it. It's like, if he could have done that, like, in the early 2000s, or even the mid-2000s, if he'd have come out and been like, I was a douche and blah, 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 it's like, I think people would have, like, come back and embraced him.
I think he could come clean.
Maybe.
He'd have to have...
Maybe.
He would have to be able... He'd have to come to the light. He'd have to be able to laugh at himself.
Yeah, and it's like it's just I just don't know if he's capable of doing it.
He'd have to like take kind of fess up and go, yeah, that shit happened.
Yeah, I'm old. Sorry.
Yeah, I did that shit.
Like, oh, can we talk for a second before we wrap the show? Because
Yeah,
how
just-
long's the show? Yeah, because it's probably like
Yeah,
2.5
it's
hours long.
probably time.
One other thing I did want to mention was his energy drinks.
Oh, yeah, the energy drink, the commercial was fantastic.
I thought, okay.
That commercial had me
The
fucking rolling.
commercial, I thought it was a parody.
No, he was serious.
But
it's
it
awesome.
wasn't.
It's awesome.
I thought it was somebody making fun
Yeah.
of Steven Seagal's commercial for the power, for the drink.
The commercial is it's like this fucking hot bikini chick in a pool, pouring the energy drink into the pool, and she's counting them down like she's poured fucking thousands of these fucking drinks to fill
Into
the whole
to
pool.
fill the pool
and
up,
then
sure.
it fucking cuts over, and there's a younger Seagal. He looked pretty young then, but that might have been the 2000s, huh?
Yeah, well, was it late 90s or early
Late 90s
2000s? I can't even remember.
And he's sitting there
Remember.
fucking talking
2005
to
it
her.
was,
I'm going to come in
2005.
there and I'm going to swim in water and I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. That type of
and
shit.
she's like, oh, Steven.
yeah, right. And there was...
You're so sexy.
Yeah, you're so sexy, Seagal. And the name of the damn drink is called Asian Experience. And it's an Asian girl.
I know.
And he's gonna have an Asian experience at any fucking moment. It looked like something out of a fucking porn film.
Can you imagine? Okay.
It was hilarious.
Can you imagine the logistics of actually filling a swimming pool up with energy drink and then like having sex in that pool?
Yeah, with the energy
You would just
drink.
be all sticky and like, and you'd smell like sweet
Steven
tarts.
Seagal and an Asian chick having sex in the fucking pool.
In a pool filled with
fucking
Asian experience.
Asian experience. It was an energy drink. It's fucking awesome concept, man.
There were
It's an
two
awesome
other
concept.
flavors. One of them, both the other flavors were not as funny. They were just called Cherry Charge and Root Beer Rush.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were watching Cinemassacre the other day, and the guy that's on there that
He had a can.
that
He had
has
two
the
cans.
wall of Seagal.
Yeah.
He bought some cans for back in the day, and he still had them, and they were sealed and everything, and he actually like drank them on the show.
Said they were good.
Yeah, he said. Well, they said they weren't bad, like for energy drinks. I'm sure
They were old though. Too.
They were like 15 years
You're
old.
right.
2005 that came out.
2005,
It's and I think they didn't really last very long. But seriously, if I wonder if that commercial's on YouTube somewhere of like the woman like pouring, because I for real thought that was. I was like, that is not the real commercial.
I would love to get
was.
one, when they were fresh and see what they tasted like.
They probably taste like all the other ones.
But yeah, probably taste about the same. Like
I mean,
sweet tarts.
Yeah, they all just taste like sweet tarts and butt.
Man, stop it. Man, energy. I like energy.
He
drinks.
gets so sensitive
I'm
when I
drinking
pick on
one now.
energy drinks.
I'm drinking that Aldi's energy drink with fucking.
That's right. You
tequila
gotta.
in
What the
it.
hell is it called? Thunder thighs
I
or
don't fucking
what?
know.
It's called Thunder
I don't
something.
fucking. It's green.
It is.
It's fucking green.
Hulk man.
Green-
It's like I ran out of drink like a long time
They're
ago,
all
and
the
I didn't
same.
even get another one.
We can get more in a minute.
Yeah, we can get
Shut
another
it
one in a
down.
minute. All right, so yeah, we're doing this on Friday night actually. So we're getting. All right, so that'll
Felt
probably
good
do
to
it.
be the Terminator.
I know, right? You didn't get hot in that jacket.
It's a little warm, but it's not. I'm not hot. I'm not
Okay.
sweating or anything.
It's actually not. This office is always like really cold for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but I always like usually wear a sweater in here because I'm always like freezing my ass off. All right, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed this rambling discussion about the great legendary Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
Don't beat us up. Don't sit on us. Actually,
I'm not worried about fucking Steven Seagal.
That's probably the more worry. Don't eat me.
I'm not worried about
You might eat me.
Leave that man alone. I'm not worried about him coming
I'm just
down here.
teasing. I'm teasing. Get a sense of humor.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed episode 190.
Yeah.
Remember, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe on all your social media. If you'd like to financially support the show during these rough times, I know it's kind of hard out there for everybody, but if you want to,
We're during the
you
apocalypse.
can. It's
We're in the
during the
apocalypse.
apocalypse, it's the end of the world, whatever. We have a Patreon page, patreon.com/13o'clockpodcast, or you can go to our blog, 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com, and there's a button in the sidebar that goes to a PayPal account. If you'd like to give a one-time donation, anything would be much appreciated, and we will see you next time. Bye.
I'll be back.
Oh, man.